2022, cold night, real cold night. Met back at the campus when the leaves were gold. Short time, just a little spark in the story stall. Long gap in the middle while we went our way. 10 years later, he pops up in my tray with a badge and 2 kids. Back on the force, Boston streets got him staying the course. January coming in sideways. McCarthy's had the drinks flowing all night. Moving down to the waterfall under white lights. Flakes on the window, tension in the air. But John never came back home. Left him lying out there in the snow on the lawn. Found him at dawn. Where's the truth at? Looking at the girl while the blue wall hides. Left him lying out there in the snow on the lawn. Yeah, he's gone. They looking at me, ignoring the door. Looking at me. Walk to the Fairview party past 12. Rough patch smoothed out, thinking we were good, but they built the trap. Big house, brass on the mantle and blood on the grass. Don't knock on the wood, don't ask the brother. Pin it on a lady, hide every other factor. Frame a story, tight like a movie actor. January coming in sideways. McCarthy's had the drinks flowing all night. Moving down to the waterfall under white lights. Flakes on the window, tension in the air. But John never came back home. Left him lying out there in the snow on the lawn. Found him at dawn. Where's the truth at? Looking at the girl while the blue wall hides. Left him lying out there in the snow on the lawn. Yeah, he's gone. Search the house. Why you never search the house? Ask the crew. Why you never ask the crew? Check the tape. Why you never check the tape? But John never came back home. Left him lying out there in the snow on the lawn. Found him at dawn. Where's the truth at? Looking at the girl while the blue wall hides. Left him lying out there in the snow on the lawn. Yeah, he's gone.
Oh my gosh, you would think by now I would know how to do this. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so it's Monday. It's a Monday. It's okay. Anyway, I'm here and so's my son. Say hi, Jason.
Hello.
And so we are going to watch Framed 2 today and possibly the video about Aidan's charges as well, excuse me. But before we do that, breaking news, everyone. I normally don't get in, I mean, other than on Talk Shite nights, obviously, but there was breaking news on X this morning. Meredith has been charged, hi Cheryl, with not witness intimidation, wiretapping for recording Aidan and that phone call. Thank you, Kelly Steffi, for summarizing the charges and everything. So it says new Commonwealth v. Meredith O'Neill, criminal complaint against Meredith O'Neill. A new criminal case has been filed in Massachusetts against Meredith and O'Neill. According to the court docket, the charge unlawful wiretap, it's a felony. The date of the alleged offense is December 2nd, 2025. It's Holden. Complaint filed June 29th, 2026. Complaint issued with summons, no arrest warrant reflected on the docket. So she'll have to show up for her doc. I know it is. And it's like I talked to Kazi this morning because he was doing a call in, and I'm like, it sucks that it had to happen, but it had to happen because people need to realize that they are going to be held accountable. Like, congratulations to, the Leominster District Court for actually, following the law and not doing shady shit like they do in Norfolk County. So her arraignment is set for July 30th, 2026 at 8:30 a.m. The complaint originated through an electric application from the Leominster District Court and alleges a violation of Massachusetts wiretap statute. As of now, the public docket lists the charge but does not provide underlying facts or allegations supporting it. As with any criminal complaint, the filing is an allegation. Meredith is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court. So there's that. And then I also have a clip that Will put up on X this morning of Aidan's reaction to it. And I went back and watched the Bus Stop Live where he talked about it, and you can tell he's not happy. Like, it's not a good thing. It's not. I honestly, my heart breaks for Aidan because this had to happen, because he obviously didn't, she did this to herself. It is, but yeah, let's watch his reaction.
Holden Police Department versus Meredith O'Neill. I'll just read this. A show cause hearing was held on Monday, June 15th, at which time the Holden Police Department presented documentary evidence in the form of a statement of facts in support of application for criminal complaint written by Detective Todd Ventris, a Holden Police Department incident report, the recorded testimony of Aidan Carney, and the affidavit of Nicholas Miller, aka Joe Flipperhead, to support its allegation that on October 14th, 2025, Meredith O'Neill did willfully commit an interception or procure some other person to commit an interception or attempt to commit an interception of some wire communication. Okay, so this we had our probable cause hearing 2 weeks ago in Leominster District Court for the wiretapping charge. This is my first time reading this. They have come up with a ruling. Do you guys think the charges are going to go forward? Do you guys think? What do people think? Let's see what it says. The accused also testified at the show cause hearing, presenting testimonial evidence that she was present in a two-party state. I think she meant one-party state, Rhode Island, at the time of the recordings alleged to be the basis for the criminal complaint application. That Mr. Carney knew or should have known that he was being recorded by virtue of an announcement made on an individual's iPhone when either party to a phone conversation begins recording that conversation. Because that was that's what she claimed, that I knew I was being recorded. As well as documentary evidence in the form of the affidavit of Jennifer Altman, a printout of calls to the accused allegedly made by Mr. Carney in September and October, whatever that would show. So it shows like calling her. The affidavit of Christy Schneider, a Holden Police Department, aka Christy Citroni, a Holden Police Department incident report consisting of a 2-page Holden Police narrative for Lieutenant Evan Parker, a Gmail printout of a communication from Parker to Miss O'Neill, and a text message purportedly from Karen Reed. Interesting. I got to see this. The probable cause standard. The complainant need only present, this is in quotes now, the complainant need only present a statement of accusation, which in the eyes of the magistrate is complete in terms of the elements of the crime and reasonable, believable in the terms of allegations. Probable cause exists where the facts and circumstances within the knowledge of the magistrate are enough to warrant a prudent person in believing that the individual has committed an offense. Probable cause is a relatively low threshold requiring only sufficiently trustworthy information to instill in a reasonable person the requisite belief of criminality. This is the same probable cause standard that the police apply in making an arrest, and is lower than that for submitting a criminal case to a jury. This standard is also lower than the probable cause standard that is applied by a judge in a bind-over hearing. Since the magistrate's task is not to sit as fact finder, but to determine probable cause, the magistrate should avoid a simple weighing of the complainant's charges against the accused's defenses. So they're not there to litigate the facts of the case. The magistrate should first consider whether the complainant, the Holden Police Department statement, taken on its own, provides reason to believe that the accused committed the offense charges. If the magistrate finds that the complainant has established probable cause, it is not enough for the accused to contradict or even cast some doubt on the complainant's statement. Rather, to avoid the complaint, the accused must completely refute the complainant's evidence of probable cause. This can generally be done in two ways. First, the accused can offer a legal defense based on uncontroverted facts, e.g., that an identical charge has already been brought and resulted in an acquittal or dismissal with prejudice. Unless such a defense is unquestionable, it is better left for the trial judge and not used as a basis for denying a complainant. Secondly, the accused can present a factual defense that completely discredits the complainant's story or vitiates, I've never heard that word before, the complainant's credibility. An example would be a persuasive alibi, which makes the complainant's identification of the accused as the perpetrator no longer credible. In making such determinations, it is not appropriate for the magistrate simply to balance competing testimony. The magistrate does not sit as a fact finder, but simply to determine whether there is probable cause to present the allegations to a fact finder. Resolution of factual disputes is a matter for trial.
Thank you for coming.
If the complainant has presented a prima facie, I don't know how to pronounce it, the accused's evidence should result in denial of the complaint or lack of probable cause only if the accused completely discredits the complainant's credibility or establishes a defense on uncontroverted facts. So she has to be able to, at this hearing, discredit the Holden Police Department's credibility or establishes a defense based on undeniable facts, like they're not whatever. Based on the evidence presented at the June 15th show cause hearing, I find that there is sufficient evidence to establish probable cause to issue a criminal complaint, and a summons will be issued for the appearance of the accused for arraignment. So there we go. So he's going to be charged with a felony. There we go. Holden Police Department versus Meredith O'Neill.
Okay.
I'll just read this.
So, but yeah, so Jabin, like I was telling you, so Meredith is Aidan's ex-girlfriend. She tried to get an order, like an RO on him, a restraining order on him, and then he tried to get one on her, and it was a whole debacle. But that's a whole nother story. And but before we do anything else, because I haven't shown any of the babies on camera at all. Cheryl, I don't know if you're still here. Because you were such a big help in, helping with these guys when they were born. There's Mr. Jellybean. He's like, why are you holding me up? But they are 5 weeks old today. Oh, yes, I know. You just want to snuggle. I know. Yeah, they're 5 weeks old today, Cheryl, if you can believe it already. But yeah, they are doing so good. They're trying to use the litter box. Not quite there yet, but So yeah, so that's that. Yeah, they're adorable. But yeah, so we're gonna teach Javen about and for those that don't know, Javen is my bonus son. Hi Jeannie, good to see you. Um okay. Okay. So yeah, so we are going to watch
Did you need to run? You said you were going to Walmart? Fred Meyer's in Walmart. I need to go. Huh? Said I need to go to Walmart. I need new shoes. My shoes aren't.
okay. Well, maybe we won't watch Frame today. Or we will oops. Whoops. Hang on. Okay. Is that wait, which Gibson Go is that? Oh, that's Lacey's. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yes, please like, share, and subscribe. Do all the YouTubey things. We we will still watch Framed because it's a good reminder of what got us to where we are. Well, actually, it's Framed 2 because I think that's given the fact that Karen's case is now done. It's probably the better one to watch. What am I saying? Oh, donations are never necessary, but always appreciated. Hello, go take a nap. No, you didn't. Javen's going with Daddy. Okay, go play. If you guys already took a nap, supposedly, go play. Get out. I am live. Yeah. Okay, let's play a song. Let's play the Monday song while I deal with these girls, and we will be right back. Okay, love you guys. Be right back.
Alarm says move, I swing my feet. Cold floor, hard truth, but I'm on my feet. Coffee in a paper cup, keys in my hand. Same old rush, same old road, still I got a plan. One deep breath, two step out, I know the way, I know it now. Still I rise with a grin, this week starts here. Let me in. Monday, I'm ready. Monday, I'm ready. Watch me roll right through it. I got fire in me. Monday, I'm ready. Monday, I'm ready. One day at a time, and I'm where I should be. Yeah. Monday, I'm ready. Monday, I'm ready.
Okay, we are back. Hey. Okay, so let's get started with this. Oh, you're fine, Cheryl. Yes, nap or play. Supposedly they already took a nap, but you know, what is it is what it is. Why don't you go throw that away? Because Daddy put a new bag in the trash.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, we're gonna watch Frame 2 today. If you have any comments, questions, just to give you guys a little bit of background as far as where I came in on. Give me the remote now. Give me. Okay, let's get this started first. Back to what I was saying. I came in late to Karen Reed because during the first trial, Chad Daybell was on trial, so I was watching that here in, because it's here in Idaho. And so I was watching that trial when the first trial happened. However, I was watching Lawyer You Know's coverage of the Chad Daybell trial, and he covered the mistrial when the mistrial was announced. And so that's how I kind of got an introduction into Karen Reed. And we all know that at the time, Peter was not like completely on board with her being completely innocent, but he was covering it as objectively as as he does. And can you, I swear, between kids and cats. Okay, Ladybug, you make a better door than a window. And for those who don't know, Ladybug is the mama of these beautiful babies. Jellybean is not the only baby. There are 3. He's the only boy, though. So we have 2 girls and a boy. But anyway, like I said, I came in late. After discovering Karen Reed through Peter, I discovered Melanie Little, and that's how I really got an introduction. And I watched Trial 2 with her. And then I found Aidan, and so on and so forth, Glare, etc., etc., etc. And then eventually I found the chat rats. So we are going to watch Frame 2. We are going to, learn about where we've been, where this case has been. And we all know we have so far to go because there are currently 4 civil cases going on. We have the O'Keefe's versus Karen Reed in the bars, which is the wrongful death suit. We have Karen Reed versus the Haas defendants. And so Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe is one of the defendants as well. And then Brian Higgins, plus Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully, all in their own personal capacities. And then we have the Haas defendants who are plaintiffs versus Aidan and Karen in the defamation case. And then we have Karen Reed versus MSP and the town of Canton / Canton PD. So there's a lot going on, and these cases are like, we'll be lucky if the wrongful death case goes to trial next year. I know Judge Gilday put the defamation case on a fast track, so 2 years, so that would be 2028. That one should go to trial-ish if it survives the anti-slap motions from both Aidan and Karen. And then the funny thing about the federal case is they are trying to push through or pass a bill that will allow the judges in the federal courtrooms to, on a case-by-case basis, allow cameras in federal courtrooms, which is hilarious to me because the reason why the Haas defendants wanted the case to go to federal court is because there's no cameras in federal court. Yeah, well, that might backfire on them. It'd be nice if it did get passed and, pushed through by October, so we could also cover Sandra Birchmore's case. I don't know if that will happen, but it'd be nice. But yeah, so let's get started with frame 2 and we will go from there. If you have any comments you would like to add or things like that while we're watching it, please put them in the chat and we can discuss. Okay, here we go.
My name is Aidan Carney, and I'm the founder of Turtle Boy Daily News. For the last 2 years, I've been reporting on the murder of John O'Keefe and the prosecution of Karen Read. In doing so, I've exposed unprecedented amounts of corruption in the Massachusetts State Police and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. As a result of my relentless journalism and activism, this case has gotten more attention than any murder case since O.J. Simpson. Millions of people now know that Karen Read was framed and that the people who murdered John O'Keefe were protected by their friends and family in law enforcement. This has led to widespread outrage and demonstrations outside the courthouse and in the streets across the country. Because of the damaging effect that my reporting and protesting has had on the Commonwealth's case and reputation, I was arrested by the same police I've been exposing and charged with 16 counts of felony witness intimidation, conspiracy, and picketing. The charges are completely meritless and were designed to get me to stop reporting and stop leading this movement for justice. An overview of my charges can be found in the video linked in the description. When I first started writing about this case, I made a video called Frame, which was a condensed overview of the case at the time. However, much has come to light since then, including a trial that ended in a hung jury. And as we enter the retrial, an updated version of Frame was needed. This video is the complete summary of the most important facts of the case. Look how flat the street is! Which prove undeniably that Karen Read is innocent and that the people who murdered John O'Keefe framed her for their crimes. On January 29th, 2022, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found dead outside Brian Albert's house in Canton during a severe blizzard. O'Keefe's girlfriend, Karen Read, who had dropped him off there earlier, became the sole suspect and was charged with manslaughter. She was later indicted for second-degree murder. Authorities claimed Read hit O'Keefe with her SUV and fled the scene. However, emerging evidence pointed to O'Keefe being beaten inside Albert's house and left on the lawn to frame Karen Read. The well-connected Albert family has been protected by their friends and family in law enforcement and the DA's office. They expected Karen Read to give up and take a plea deal, but instead she fought back, uncovering details of the conspiracy surrounding the case. Karen Read was arrested and charged with manslaughter on February 1st, 2022. Her attorney, David Yannetti, did not allege any conspiracy to frame his client at her February 2nd arraignment. Outside of court, Yannetti simply said,
I think that there was a lot of political pressure on this district attorney's office to bring charges in light of the fact that a police officer was the victim here. This is a defensible case. I will tell you that my client has no criminal intent. She loved this man. She is devastated.
He did not state or suggest that his client did in fact strike O'Keefe with her car. Karen was admittedly drunk on the evening of January 28th and had no memory of hitting John O'Keefe with her car. She says that she saw him go into the house, but had no idea how he ended up dead on the lawn. She began to wonder if she could have accidentally bumped into John without realizing it. One thing that didn't cross her mind in the days after John died was that the people in inside Brian Albert's house, would beat him up and throw him on the lawn to die like trash. That changed on February 3rd, 2022, the day after Reed's arraignment. Yannetti was visited in his Boston office by a man named Steve Scanlon. Scanlon was a former corrections officer and a longtime friend of Brian Albert. He told Yannetti that he should look at the people inside the house and opined that O'Keefe was beaten up by Brian Albert, an ATF agent, and Albert's nephew, and that they later moved his body to where Reed found him at 6 a.m. Although Scanlon didn't specify names, didn't mention Colin Albert or Brian Higgins in particular, they were the only ones who matched this description who were at the house that night. This was the first time Karen had heard that Colin was at the house, and it suddenly started making sense what had happened. From that point on, she began investigating the investigation into her and discovered that she was being framed. Scanlon wanted to be a whistleblower, but since he's a coward, he also wanted to remain anonymous and wouldn't sign an affidavit for David Yannetti. When I spoke with Scanlon, he told me that he didn't know for sure what had happened to John, but said that the injuries to John, quote, didn't add up. There's just one problem with that, though. John's autopsy photos weren't released at that time, and his injuries hadn't been reported by any media outlets. So Scanlon would have no idea what his injuries were. Scanlon wasn't wrong, though. When people get run over by cars, they generally have bruises all over their body and broken bones. Not John O'Keefe, though. He had no bruises or broken bones below his nose, but he did have 2 black eyes, defensive wounds on his knuckles, a 3-inch laceration in the back of his head, indicating that he had been hit by a blunt object, and what appears to be dog bites exclusively on his right arm. You don't have to be a doctor to know that a car did not do that. Karen Reed and John O'Keefe dated 20 years ago and reconnected romantically after speaking on Facebook during the pandemic. During those 20 years, John left his job as a Duxbury police officer to join the Boston Police Department. In 2014, John's sister and brother-in-law tragically died in less than 3 months of each other, leaving John's young niece and nephew without their parents. John stepped up and became their parent, raising them alone and moving to Canton. Karen worked for Fidelity as a financial analyst and was an adjunct professor at Bentley University. She owned a home in Mansfield, but for all intents and purposes was cohabitating with O'Keefe and acting as a de facto stepmother to O'Keefe's niece and nephew. Text messages leading up to the night O'Keefe was killed show that Reed felt taken advantage of by John, as some referred to her as the, quote, babysitter with benefits. Ouch. John didn't like how she spoiled the kids. They argued, as many couples do, sometimes in front of the kids, and discussed breaking up. There was an incident in Aruba a month before John died where Karen angrily confronted a woman named Marietta Sullivan and accused her of kissing John. And Karen was frustrated that John got drunk during the trip and left her to take care of his kids. Karen herself sought validation and attention from an ATF agent friend of John's named Brian Higgins, who she flirted with over texts in January of 2022, but ultimately ended up ghosting him after a tap kiss in John's garage 2 weeks before John died. One time, John told Karen to leave the house, but they never ended up breaking up because Karen was so helpful with the children. Despite their occasional arguments, John and Karen were lovey-dovey at CF McCarthy's on the night that she allegedly killed him and was described by witnesses to be affectionate towards one another. On Friday, January 28th, the huge winter storm coming to Massachusetts was all over the news. John and Karen texted back and forth all day, talking about problems in their relationship. But whatever issues they had with each other wasn't enough to keep them apart that night, as John repeatedly invited her to Canton to drive him around to the bars and get snowed in with him and the kids for the weekend. John went out to a local bar called CF McCarthy's with his friends Mike Camerano and Kurt Roberts. Karen drove in from Mansfield and met them there at 9 p.m. She immediately began ordering drinks and could be seen on camera paying for 4. By 11 o'clock, Reed and O'Keefe made plans to go to a bar across the street and meet up with a woman named Jennifer McCabe, who O'Keefe was friends with because his niece was friends with one of McCabe's 4 daughters. McCabe was at the bar with her husband, Matt McCabe, her sister, Nicole Albert, Nicole's husband, Brian Albert, Brian's brother, Chris Albert, and Chris's wife, Julie Albert. Joining them there was Brian Higgins, the ATF agent Reed had previously flirted with earlier in the month before, quote, ghosting him. While they were there, Jennifer McCabe invited O'Keefe to Brian Albert's house for an after party, where Brian Albert Jr. was celebrating his 23rd birthday with several friends and his 17-year-old cousin, Colin Albert. One witness described McCabe as trying to separate John from Karen, who had no interest in going to an after party at a stranger's house. After an hour, the bar closed and Brian and Nicole Albert left to go back to their home at 34 Fairview Road. Higgins can be seen on video yelling and pointing in O'Keefe's direction before being held back and restrained by Chris Albert. While he was at the bar, he had texted O'Keefe's girlfriend, well, as if to say, why are you ignoring me? He was drunk, upset with O'Keefe and felt disrespected by O'Keefe's girlfriend. When Nicole and Brian Albert got back home, they testified that their nephew Colin was still there, but that he left within a few minutes. Colin claimed that he had been there for 90 minutes, dropped off earlier in the evening by Jennifer McCabe's daughter, Allie, so that he could wish his much older cousin, Brian Albert Jr., a happy birthday. Despite being a teenage meathead who loves to drink and party, Colin's story is that he left the house minutes after his fun uncle arrived to the party because he wanted to get home, kiss his parents goodnight, and go to bed. Right. Physical violence and toughness are things that are encouraged amongst male members of the Albert family. Brian Albert is a former Marine and trained boxer with 30 years of experience as a Boston police officer, serving on the fugitive unit where he was in charge of tracking down and arresting some of the most violent and dangerous criminals. He reportedly assaulted 2 other Boston police officers named Eddie Hernandez and Stephen Ridge and had a bad reputation amongst the rank and file in the BPD. Chris Albert is a thug who has political power in town. On June 23rd, 2024, he threatened to beat my face up and down the sidewalk outside CF McCarthy.
Up and down the sidewalk in 2 seconds.
You'll beat my face?
No, I wouldn't. I could.
You could, yeah. You seem really intimidated. Then watched gleefully as one of his employees and his crazed sister-in-law, Jill Daniels, assaulted me on camera.
Oh, look who it is. Look who's here. Here she is.
You know what? I'm so sick of your shit.
Chris knew he can get away with this because the McAlberts basically run the town of Canton. Chris is on the board of selectmen. His brother Kevin Albert's a detective sergeant. Brian Albert is a legend, and Tim Albert once owned a pool. As a member of the select board, Chris is in charge of hiring the police chief who works for him. Unsurprisingly, Chief Helena Rafferty.
And Tim Albert once owned the pool. I'm sorry, but that's just freaking hilarious. Okay, back to this.
And former Chief Ken Berkowitz both supported Chris Albert's campaign for selectman and used their positions of authority to cast doubt on what was plainly a cover-up in the eyes of any rational person. Chief Berkowitz allowed Brian Higgins to have an office at the Canton Police Department and asked a reporter to take down a tweet on February 1st, 2022, because the tweet mentioned the fact that John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's front lawn, and Brian Albert was a, quote, pillar of the community who didn't deserve to have his reputation tarnished. In November of 2023, the people of Canton held a special town meeting where they voted to audit the police department despite the select board and Chris Albert voting 5-0 not to. Colin was the star of the Canton High School football team and the quintessential jock who thought football was cool, but Shakespeare was a loser. He was also neighbors with O'Keefe and had reportedly gotten into shouting matches with his much older neighbor after throwing beer cans on O'Keefe's lawn. Colin's parents jokingly referred to O'Keefe as Nebbercracker in reference to a grumpy cartoon character who didn't like people on his lawn. Colin has a history of violence and has gotten into several fights that were memorialized on video. He had also issued disturbing threats to a group of teenage hockey players from Hingham known as the Advantage Boys.
Yo, your Advantage Boys, I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will fuck you all up. Pull up, bitch.
Despite this, Colin claimed during the trial that he had never been in a fight before, something that was undeniable perjury. Like many others, Colin looked up to and admired his uncle Brian. Family photos of the Alberts almost always show the men either giving the middle finger to the camera or holding up their fists like boxers do. Commonwealth wants us to believe that as soon as his uncle Brian got back to the party, Colin just immediately decided it's time to leave. Colin, Chris, and Julie Albert have all known State Police Detective Michael Proctor for decades. And as luck would have it, Proctor ended up being assigned lead investigator for O'Keefe's murder. 7-year-old Colin was the ring bearer in Proctor's sister Courtney's wedding. There's pictures of Colin and his family all over Courtney's Facebook page. And Proctor's own mother referred to the Alberts as a, quote, second family. Yet Proctor did not recuse himself from the investigation or disclose this close relationship. In fact, he denied knowing that when he testified in front of the grand jury that indicted Reed. He said he didn't know him. Karen discovered by researching the Albert and Proctor families on social media this was a lie. Throughout the investigation, Proctor went out of his way to protect the McAlberts by treating them as witnesses instead of potential suspects and not interviewing eyewitnesses and even accepting bribes from the Alberts on the day that Reed was arrested. Shortly after Brian and Nicole arrived at 34 Fairview Road, Jennifer and Matt McCabe pulled into the driveway and parked there. At 12:14, John O'Keefe had just left the Waterfall Bar with Karen Reed and texted Jen McCabe asking where to. At 12:18, he called her, asking her to clarify directions. Unfamiliar with the town that she didn't live in, Karen went slightly out of the way to get there, coming from the east on Cedar Crest Road. She missed the left-hand turn onto Fairview Road, did a U-turn in the driveway, and then she went back to Fairview Road. When she did so, a truck was coming from the opposite direction and was trying to turn left on a Fairview Road. Inside that truck was Ricky D'Antano, Heather Maxon, and her boyfriend Ryan Nagel, whose sister Julie Nagel was a friend of Brian Albert Jr. and had called him looking for a ride home. D'Antano allowed Reed to turn onto 34 Fairview and drop John off in the driveway, where she claims that she saw him run quickly to the side door. D'Antano, Maxon, and Nagel pulled in.
So the interesting thing about the Karen saying she dropped him off in the driveway is that Busy Beauty on her first YouTube presentation said that, or somewhere, and maybe it was with Emily C. But I heard her say somewhere that there's a dead zone right in front of the driveway as far as cell phone service. So that may have messed with John's cell phone information. Hey Garth. Thank you for stopping by. My son was supposed to be watching this with me, but he can always catch the replay and we can talk about it later. But basically just wanted to, see, wanted to show where we've been and, realize that, we have so far to go. But anyway, like I was saying, there was a dead zone in front of the house. And so, how much did that mess with John's cell phone data? Thank you. So it's a question, because they relied so much on John's cell phone data saying that he didn't go into the house. But if there's a dead zone in front of the house, how did that mess with it, So yeah, let's get back to this.
In seconds afterwards, and testified that they did not see John O'Keefe run into the house, which would make sense because the other cars in the driveway would have obstructed their view from seeing him. Karen had no intention of going inside because she didn't know anyone there. And throughout the whole scene, she just thought it was sketchy because the house was dark and Higgins had just yelled at O'Keefe before leaving the bar. But John was drunk and wanted to go, so she agreed to drop him off. The plan was for him to call or text her that he was inside to let her know everything was fine and she'd go back to his house 3 miles away at One Meadows Ave, where his 14-year-old niece was home alone. But John never called or texted Karen Reed again. As she waited outside, she became frustrated with John for not calling her and assumed that he had once again gotten drunk and left her to take care of his kids. After 10 minutes, she left and drove back to John's house, leaving all sorts of angry voicemails and text messages accusing him of cheating on her. This is the exact opposite thing that you would do if you just murdered someone. Scott Peterson and countless other killers have left voicemails for their victims, pretending to be worried about them.
Hey, beautiful. I just left a message at home. 2:15. Early birthday. I won't be able to get to the Villa Farms to get that basket from Papa. I was hoping you would get this message and go on out there. I'll see you in a bit, sweetie. Love you. Bye.
Reed's messages indicated that she thought John was alive, possibly with another woman, and had left her alone to watch his children. Who wouldn't be pissed? According to Trooper Nicholas Garino, Karen Reed logged into John's Wi-Fi at 12:36 a.m. The 2.3-mile trip from Fairview Road to One Meadows Ave, which included going through a traffic light in the center of town, would have taken at least 6 minutes in ideal conditions. In the snow, it would take much longer. That means Karen had to leave Fairview Road no later than 12:30 a.m. This presents a huge problem for the Commonwealth. Ricky D'Antano, Heather Maxon, and Ryan Nagel all testified that Julie Nagel came out and said that she was going to stay there instead. They all left while Karen Reed was still parked outside and drove by her Lexus. All three of them testified that they saw Karen Reed alone in her car with the interior lights on, in her hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. None of them saw John O'Keefe inside the car with Karen Reed. None of them saw O'Keefe on the ground outside the car or standing outside the car. This means there could only be one place that O'Keefe was, inside Brian Albert's house. The forensic evidence backs this up. John's Apple Health data shows that he ascended and descended 3 flights of stairs between 12:22 and 12:24 a.m. Karen's Apple Health data does not show her going up any flights of stairs during that time. This means that Reed and O'Keefe could not be in the same place at that time. Brian Albert has 2 flights of stairs in his house. Karen Reed's Lexus doesn't have a basement. Don't worry though, the Commonwealth has an explanation for that. You see, John's GPS, which has a 3-minute standard deviation from the actual time, shows that he wasn't there yet at 12:22. According to Detective Garino, the Norfolk DA's forensic expert, John was on Oakdale Road and was probably moving the phone up and down in the car.
The movement of the phone, the distance traveled, it's going to register steps. You don't have to physically be walking and moving the phone for it to register movements. Just waving around and then could potentially cause it to think you're walking and moving.
Which somehow tricked Apple into believing that he had just climbed a couple flights of stairs. Garino testified that it was a very hilly street, so I tried driving down Oakdale Road to see if I could get my Apple Health data to say I climbed stairs. This is what I found.
Look how flat this street is. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Watch out for the hill, kid.
the flattest street in Canton. Unsurprisingly, my Apple Health data did not show that I had climbed any flights of stairs. D'Antino, Maxon, and Ryan Nagel all testified that there were no cars in between them and Reed's Lexus. This presented a problem for the Commonwealth, so they had to try to find a way to discredit them. The solution to this was for Matt McCabe, Jen McCabe, and Brian Higgins to make up a lie that Higgins had parked his white Jeep next to Brian Albert's mailbox, which would have been in between the Lexus and D'Antino's truck.
And after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep, and after the Jeep was this was the SUV. You did not see, for instance, a Jeep with a snowplow on the front parked in between you.
I did not.
In fact, you indicated that Jeep was just a little bit in front of the mailbox, meaning about there, correct?
Yes.
You certainly did not see a full-size Jeep Wrangler outfitted with a snowplow between the SUV and Rick's truck.
I did not.
I want to ask a question about Mr. Higgins. On Friday, that you saw his vehicle when you got to see it, correct?
Yes.
You said that it was pulled up a little bit in front of the mailbox, correct?
Yes.
Did any car pull in between Ricky's truck and the SUV when you were sitting behind the SUV?
No, sir.
You didn't see a Jeep?
No, sir.
With a big old snowplow in front of it?
No, sir, I did not.
That car was never between your car and the SUV, was it?
I never saw any other vehicle between us.
And then after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep, and after the Jeep was this was the SUV, the SUV.
Timeline of Karen getting back to One Meadows Ave at 12:36 was also problematic because Jen McCabe testified that she looked out the window 3 times and Karen was still there at 12:45. The Commonwealth claims that Karen struck John with her car at 12:32, meaning she couldn't get back to O'Keefe's house by 12:36, and she definitely wouldn't still be at Brian Albert's house at 12:45. In order to make it look like she was worried about where John was, Jennifer McCabe called his phone 6 times between 12:40 and 12:50. She later testified that they were actually butt dials, none of which resulted in the voicemail being left on John's phone because she would hang up and then I guess butt dial again. Then there's the Canton Library video, which perfectly captures the intersection in the middle of town that Karen would have driven through on her way back to John's house. If she had just hit John with her car, then her taillight would be visibly broken on that surveillance video, and they could nail her. The IT director, Louis Jutras, gave state police a share file with all the footage from that night, which Proctor then burned onto a CD. When he did that, the footage from the 2-minute window where Reed drove by was mysteriously missing. You got that? It recorded everything except for when the woman with the allegedly broken taillight drove by. How convenient. But the library wasn't the only place that surveillance videos that could have shown the condition of Reed's taillight as she drove back to John's house. There's hundreds of homes along the way, many of which have Ring cameras. Did police ask any of these homeowners to look at them? I randomly stopped and asked the homeowner, who told me no one ever asked him for his.
What is it you need to know now?
So I was just wondering, did the state police ever come by here and ask for ring camera footage from the morning of January 29th, 2022?
No, they haven't.
They have. Normally, police canvass all over town asking for Ring and other surveillance videos, but the murder of a Boston cop wasn't worthy of that sort of effort, apparently. They knew Reed's taillight wasn't broken at 12:35, and they knew that asking to look at videos would exonerate her. Inside the house, when Karen Reed left, were Matt McCabe, Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin Albert, Julie Nagel, Brian Higgins, and Albert Jr.'s friend, Sarah Levinson. But for some reason, people didn't question Nagel or Levinson until 9 months after Oki's death, and Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert Jr., and several others until 18 months later, despite the fact that they all would have likely heard or seen a murder less than 50 feet from where they were standing. Proctor had no interest in speaking with any of these people. Not a single person inside the house reported hearing a man who was invited over the house being hit by a car outside. Matt and Jen McCabe testified that they were looking out the window frequently. Matt McCabe even said that he saw V-shaped tire tracks in the snow. Remarkably, neither of them noticed John O'Keefe's body on the front lawn. John was 6'2", 220 and was found just 10 feet from the curb, yet not a single person saw his body as they drove directly past where the Commonwealth claims O'Keefe's body was, which would have been illuminated by the bright white snow. They all had their own excuses for that, including peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then there's Tristan Morris and Caitlin Albert. Tristan was at the waterfall with his girlfriend Caitlin, but left early to go back to their apartment in East End and sleep for a couple hours before waking up to plow. Caitlin planned on staying the night at her parents' house at 34 Fairview Road, but for some unexplained reason, Tristan was woken up in the middle of the night by Caitlin, who told him to come and pick her up. What happened to change your plans? Perhaps a Boston police officer was beaten to death inside the home that she was supposed to sleep in that night. In Michael Lang's police report, it says that he spoke with Brian and Nicole Albert, who told him that Caitlin Albert left at 12:15 with Tristan. Conveniently, this would have gotten her out of the house before John and Karen arrived, and thus police would have no reason to question her. But after Caitlin and her parents received a summons from the FBI to testify at the federal grand jury, the Alberts were advised by their attorney, Greg Henning, not to lie about when they left because the feds already knew the answer to that. Caitlin admitted that Tristan did not pick her up until 1:45. And when Brian Albert was asked about the 12:15 time in Lang's report, Albert blamed Lang for writing down the wrong time. If police knew that Tristan had picked up Caitlin at 1:45, it would make Tristan a witness, since he would have driven right past where John O'Keefe was allegedly dying of hypothermia. At trial, Tristan claimed that he never saw a body on the lawn because he was distracted, just like everyone else who left the house that night. The more people involved in a conspiracy, the harder it is for everyone to keep their story straight. This is why Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe went out of their way to say that their kids had all left before John and Karen arrived. Less people to interview means less people to tell a different version of events of the story. After Jennifer McCabe got home from dropping off Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, her Apple Health data shows that she went upstairs and was pacing around all morning. Her heart rate shows that she never went to sleep. Something was on her mind. Then, at 2:27 and 40 seconds, she Googled the most incriminating thing she could possibly have Googled. How long to die in cold? Except she spelled it Poss long to die in cold. Why would she Google this if she thought John O'Keefe had decided to go home with Karen Reed and never went inside Brian Albert's house? She had to have known that the plan was to put O'Keefe's body out on the lawn to make it look like he had died from hypothermia after being struck by a car. McCabe must have realized it was a huge mistake to Google this because the Cellbrite extraction report of her phone shows that she deleted the search along with 18 phone calls made that morning. In order to cover her tracks, she planned to Google the same thing the same exact way after O'Keefe's body was found because it would be more explainable after finding out he was lying in the snow. She ended up doing this at 6:24, but claims Karen Reed was the one who told her to do this while John O'Keefe was being wheeled into the ambulance. However, according to Sergeant Good's testimony, Karen Reed was alone in a car at 6:24, and dash camera footage confirms this. Jennifer McCabe was trying to cover her tracks. The answer to Jen's question is 1 to 2 hours. That's all it would take for a person to die from hypothermia in an 18-degree snowstorm. If Karen Reed struck John O'Keefe with her car at 12:32, then he should have been dead when his body was discovered at 6 a.m. But he wasn't, so he couldn't have been out there for very long. Jennifer McCabe handed her phone over to police just days after O'Keefe's death, and the contents were all extracted by Detective Garino. Nowhere in Garino's report did it mention anything about a deleted Google search for Hoss long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m. In fact, it didn't show the 6:24 search for the same thing either. And as it turned out, Garino has a history of manipulating Cellbrite data extraction reports. In February February of 2021, a pregnant woman named Sandra Birchmore was found dead in her Canton apartment, and what state police, many of whom were involved in the Reed investigation, immediately determined was a suicide by hanging with a belt. Birchmore was last visited in her apartment by 6'4" Stoughton police detective Matthew Farwell, who had impregnated her and wasn't happy about it due to the fact that he was married with 2 kids and was about to have a third. Farwell met Birchmore when he was working in the Stoughton High School Explorers program. She was just 15 years old when he started having sex with her, and 23 when she died. But Farwell was never treated as a real suspect, just as the people inside Brian Albert's house were never treated as suspects. He handed over his phone to Garino, who said that he couldn't retrieve 32,709 text messages between Birchmore and Farwell, much like he couldn't find Jennifer McCabe's Google searches because they were deleted too. But Cellbrite extracts deleted messages and Google searches as well. Luckily, the FBI ended up looking into the case and found all the deleted messages showing that Farwell was into violent rape fantasies. In August of 2024, he was arrested by the FBI for murder. If it was up to Garino, the Canton police, and Lieutenant John Fanning, another one of Proctor's bosses who was in charge of the Birchmore investigation, Farwell would still be walking the streets today. The Google search was not discovered until April of 2023 when Reed's forensic expert Richard Green found it. This is what ultimately caught my attention and led to widespread publicity that the case wasn't getting before. Like many, I assumed the DA's office was run by ethical people who wouldn't knowingly prosecute an innocent woman, especially when there was evidence that someone inside the house was responsible for John's murder. But I underestimated just how corrupt they were and just how determined they were to get Karen Reed. 2 days after my first article reached millions of people and outrage was spreading over the case, the DA's office announced they weren't dropping the charges and would be disputing the 227 Google search, which they claimed never happened. But how could they know this on April 20th, 2023 if they hadn't hired their own expert yet? Any comment on that? Why you Googled that 227? Any comment, Mr. McCabe? Any comment? How can you show your face in court? Aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you ashamed? What are you hiding? Why did you delete all those phone calls, Mr. McCabe? Why did you delete all those phone calls? Why did you delete your Google search? The Google search was not discovered until April of 2023 when Reed's forensic expert Richard Green found it. This is what ultimately caught my attention and led to widespread publicity that the case wasn't getting before. Like many, I assumed the DA's office was run by ethical people who wouldn't knowingly prosecute an innocent woman, especially when there was evidence that someone inside the house was responsible for John's murder. But I underestimated just how corrupt they were and just how determined they were to get Karen Reed. 2 days after my first article reached millions of people and outrage was spreading over the case, the DA's office announced they weren't dropping the charges and would be disputing the 227 Google search, which they claimed never happened. But how could they know this on April 20th, 2023 if they hadn't hired their own expert yet? Over the next 6 months, they went searching for experts who would tell them what they wanted to hear. Jennifer McCabe might not have Googled Paul Long dying cold at 2:27 a.m. 2 months later, they found Jessica Hyde, whose report left open the possibility that the search may have happened at 2:27. Unsatisfied, they somehow came across a former Calgary, Alberta police officer named Ian Whiffen, who worked for Cellbrite and was promoting his new app called RX. Whiffen greenlights updates to Cellbrite software and was able to make sure that the 227 Google search did not come up on the updated version. He spent much of his testimony promoting his own app, which Cellbrite did not endorse. Somehow, the Commonwealth knew on April 20th that 7 months later, they would have an expert from Canada who would reach this conclusion. Karen Reed was furious with her boyfriend for ignoring her calls and texts and leaving her alone to watch John's niece. She fell asleep sometime around 1:30 and woke up at 4:30. This time, her emotions changed from angry to worried. John would never not come home to his niece and nephew, and he would never ignore that many phone calls from Reed. He was drunk, the weather conditions were dangerous, and she began to become extremely worried that something horrible happened. She woke up John's niece and used her phone to call Jennifer McCabe at 4:53 a.m., who was awake and had never gone to sleep all night for some reason. By that point, John's body hadn't been on the lawn for very long, if it was even there at all. Jen needed to delay Karen from going to 34 Fairview Road. She told Karen that John never came inside that house, but volunteered to go out looking for him with Karen. She invited Karen to come to her house, and Karen is seen backing into John's Chevy Traverse in the driveway as she went out looking for him at 5:07 a.m., cracking her rear taillights in the process. Karen went towards the waterfall bar first, then drove back towards Jen McCabe's house. Her car is seen a mile and a half from McCabe's house at 5:18 a.m., but since she didn't know Canton very well and had no idea how to get to McCabe's house, she pulled over in the Canton Cemetery, and her phone records show that she called her parents and Googled McCabe's address. She ended up getting there at 5:35 and picked up Jen, who convinced her to go back to One Meadows Ave to search the house for John, as if he would jump out of the closet and yell, "Peekaboo!" This was all part of Jen's plan to delay Karen from returning to 34 Fairview Road. Jen and Karen were met at John's house by his friend Terry Roberts, and after searching the house without taking their shoes off, something the Commonwealth would later claim was evidence that she murdered John, the three of them jumped into Carrie's car and headed towards Fairview Road. When they arrived there, Karen immediately saw John's body on the lawn where she had been idling her car, waiting for him to call her back and say everything was okay inside. She jumped out of the car, rushed over to John, who was lying with a cell phone underneath his body, and began to perform CPR. Meanwhile, Jennifer McCabe called 911 and told them, so this is Jennifer McCabe. She says she's at 34 Fairview Road. And by the way, on the official police report, it actually says 32 Fairview Road. She says 34 Fairview Road at least 3 times in this tape, and they still put 32 Fairview Road. They also don't put Brian Albert Sr.'s name on it. They just put B. Albert. He's the only one not listed out. But listen to what she says there. There's a man passed out in the snow. Now, keep in mind, who is man? No. She knows who this man is because Karen Reed has gotten out of the car already and said, "There's John." And they're literally looking for John, and they get out of the car when they see him. So she knows who it is. She said, "There's a man passed out in the snow." Now, keep in mind, this is a quote unquote man who she was just with 6 hours prior. She was just with him 6 hours prior. At the very least, according to her own story, they were together at the waterfall bar. And she invited him back to that house. She says Carrie 7 times. And I think she says Jen here. I know that sound. I know that. Listen to the fear in her voice. When Karen jumped out of the car, she was calling O'Keefe and left her phone in Carrie's car. A 4-minute voicemail was left on O'Keefe's machine that picked up McCabe's 911 call, which was immediately followed by McCabe whispering what sounded like, "No one's coming out to help." Jennifer McCabe phone records show that she called her sister Nicole Albert inside the house at 6:07 and 6:08 and spoke to her for durations of 7 and 9 seconds. Not enough time to have a conversation, but enough time to say, "Stay inside. No one's coming out to help." first call happened at the exact time that you can hear Jennifer whispering, "No one's coming out to help." Nicole Albert was awake, and Jen McCabe was telling her to stay inside the house. For some reason, Jennifer McCabe deleted those 2 answered phone calls to her sister. Well, she and Nicole claimed that the 2 answered phone calls were never answered and that she never deleted them, even though Jen's phone records show that she did. Disputing forensic data is a common theme with the McAlberts and the Commonwealth. Officer Saraf was the first cop who arrived on the scene. His report says nothing about a car accident or Karen Reed uttering incriminating statements. Yet at the grand jury several months later, his story evolved, and he claimed that Reed said, "This is all my fault." Although the Canton police were the first to respond to the scene, they were ultimately conflicted off of the case because O'Keefe's body was discovered on Brian Albert's front lawn, and Brian Albert's brother, Kevin, is a detective in the Canton Police Department. Kevin Albert is drinking buddies with Proctor, who was later reprimanded when text messages revealed that the 2 of them had done some day drinking while investigating a cold case on Cape Cod, and Kevin Albert woke up hungover and realized that he left his gun and badge in Proctor's work vehicle. Oops. Paramedics arrived shortly after Officer Saraf, which included a woman named Katie McLaughlin, a close personal friend of Caitlin Albert. They graduated high school together, did cross country, and are photographed together in countless social situations up until a few months before O'Keefe's death, including trips to the beach, hot tubs, and a baby shower. Despite this, both she and Caitlin lied at the trial and said that they were just acquaintances and went to high school together. McLaughlin was one of nearly a dozen paramedics who responded to the scene, yet she was the only one police spoke with prior to Reed's arrest. On January 30th, Kevin Albert told Proctor that he wanted Proctor to interview McLaughlin and offered up Canton Police Department headquarters to do so, despite the fact that CPD was supposed to be conflicted off the case specifically because of Kevin Albert. McLaughlin told Proctor that she heard Reed say, "Hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." The scene. Well, Reed was standing next to Jennifer McCabe, Officer Saraf, and McLaughlin. Well, O'Keefe was already in the ambulance. That was her story. There's just a couple problems with that, though. Officer Saraf, 4 other cops, and 5 of the first responders testified that Karen Reed never said, "I hit him." And police dash cam footage shows that when these 4 were standing together, John wasn't in the ambulance yet. Karen was arrested 2 days after McLaughlin told Proctor she said, "I hit him." And according to firefighters Anthony Flamati and Timothy Nuttall, they talked about her case every day at the firehouse. Yet no other firefighters besides McLaughlin were ever questioned by Proctor until February 8th. By that time, the "I hit him" lie was all over the news and was the talk of the firehouse. And thus, Nuttall and Flamati both told Proctor that she said it. However, on cross-examination, it was revealed that neither of them was anywhere near Karen when McLaughlin claims that Karen uttered those words, despite the fact that there was a hysterical woman screaming on their front lawn, bright flashing fire and police lights illuminating the area, and an aggressive German shepherd that barked a lot and easily spooked inside the house. And phone data showing Nicole Albert spoke to Jennifer McCabe at 6:07. Brian and Nicole Albert claimed that they slept through the whole thing. Brian Albert.
Hey Seagull, hey Lemony. So I am going over, we're watching frame 2 because my son was supposed to be here with me, should be watching it with me, but he went to the store with his dad. And I was gonna try and teach him about Karen and Aidan's case. So because he knows nothing. He's 20, by the way. So yeah, we're watching frame 2 because, you know, it's important because after today, I will be starting to go help in the research for Aidan's intent. And I think I need to slow it down. Oops. I can't see because there's a kitty in my way. Ladybug, you need to move. Yeah, he's 20. He is my stepson. Come on. I can't see. You make a better door than a window. Come on. Move. Move. You need to move, Mama. No, don't go more in front of the screen. Go over there. Sorry. So yeah, so we're just going over frame 2 and yeah, but starting tomorrow, I will be watching some Aidan's episodes so we can, you know, figure out what his intent was. We all know what his intent was, but you know, it's important. It's an important part to be a part of the journey for him in case he does have to go to trial in December, because that's a real possibility, you know. So, and I know we'll all be here to support him. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Back to this.
A trained first responder did not come out of the house while a fellow Boston police officer was lying dead on his front lawn. The bedroom window was the closest to where O'Keefe's body was found, and they testified that Chloe was in the room with them. But Chloe, Brian, and Nicole did not wake up. However, their neighbors in what Matt McCabe would later call the Asian house did wake up and take these pictures, showing how impossible it would be to sleep through it. Canton Police Sergeants Sean Good and Michael Lank and Lieutenant Paul Gallagher arrived after Seraph, all of whom spent their entire lives in Canton. Good graduated and was friends with Courtney Proctor and Julie Albert's sister, Jillian Daniels. Lank was good friends with Chris Alberts and
Yeah, my husband sits kind of impatiently with me and listens to me talk about it and everything, and he agrees with, like, Aidan's First Amendment rights to report on this stuff and everything, but he's not really into true crime, so yeah, so he just deals with me. I think he's glad in a way that I have this YouTube channel so I can, like, talk about it and stuff like that. So yeah, so actually, you know what? Let's take a break. Let me see what the outro is. Is it? I don't know what the outro is, but let's take a never poke okay, it's Bible Justice. Okay. Let's take a never poke a turtle break. Okay, here we go.
From Boston fog to courthouse stone, Aidan wore the truth like a coat. He dug through lies and copied files till the whole damn paper started to glow. He found the name of Officer John, found the edits, found the bloodless lines, found the hands that scrubbed the page and the grin they wore when they sold that lie. They said, let it sleep. They said, walk away, but Aidan kept the receipts in a drawer that shook all day. Never poke a turtle, never poke a turtle. Slow step, hard shell, truth crawls, but it hits like hell. Never poke a turtle, never poke a turtle. Commonwealth came with polished words and suits that fit a guilty frame. They leaned on names, they bent the facts, tried to bury John, then bury the blame. Aidan stood in the floodlit hall with his notes and a jaw like iron. He said, if you want this dead and gone, you'll have to kill every page I'm on. They locked the door, they raised the heat, but every thread they poured only sharpened what he'd see. Never poke a turtle, never poke a turtle. Slow step, hard shell, truth crawls, but it hits like hell. Never poke a turtle, never poke a turtle. You can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever. And late came the lesson, too late for their hands. What moves in the dark still leaves marks in the sand. Aidan from Boston still stands in the rain. One man, one story, and a city saying names. Never poke a turtle, never poke a turtle. Slow step, hard shell, truth crawls, but it hits like hell. Never poke a turtle, never poke a turtle. You can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever.
Okay, we're back. No, Siegel, you're fine. Like I said, I just want to keep them off of the stream as much as possible. Apparently, nothing bad, from what I've heard, but apparently people talk about the fact that my kids are always, in the background and stuff. So I'm just trying to keep them off stream as much as possible. So yeah, so let's get back to this and go from there. Here we go.
High school, and 20 years prior, he was involved in a drunken bar fight in which he came to the rescue of Chris and assaulted and arrested 2 brothers who Chris had started trouble with. None of these 3 cops had any sort of curiosity or suspicion about how a dead cop ended up on Brian Albert's front lawn. John didn't seem dressed for the weather and was missing a shoe. If you or I invited a cop to our house and he ended up being found dead on our lawn with only 1 shoe on, the cops are definitely going to ask to search the house and get a warrant if you said no. But this was Brian Albert's house, a well-respected veteran police officer. As Proctor's text messages would later show, they weren't going to hassle him, and they claimed there was no probable cause to search the house, despite the fact that none of them applied for a warrant, so a judge could determine that for them. For all they knew, John had been killed by someone who also killed the people inside the house. Yet they allowed Jennifer McCabe to go into the house by herself at 6:34 a.m., where she claims she woke up sleeping Brian and Nicole. Jennifer McCabe was the quarterback of the entire cover-up. She didn't cause John's injuries, but she was essential for making sure that those who did were never held responsible. Jen made sure to speak with every police officer that she could in order to push the narrative that Karen was responsible for John's being on the lawn. Dashcam footage shows Jen turning her back as John's body was being wheeled into the ambulance. She was too busy talking to Officer Surratt and laying the groundwork for framing Karen Reed. Jen's phone records show that she was talking to Carrie Roberts all day on January 29th, making sure that Carrie, a potential loose end, believed that Karen had killed John. She spoke to John's mother and made her feel the same way. She hid the fact that her cell phone data shows that on January 30th, she went to Sergeant Lank's house for an hour. She never disclosed this, but when confronted with the information at trial, she said that she had just gone there to talk to Lank's wife. Jen continued to show up at Karen Reed's hearings wearing a Justice for JJ button.
How can you wear those buttons when you covered up his murder?
And comforted the grieving family in court. What a psychopath. Soon after that, the sun came out and Lieutenant Gallagher began to search the grassy area where O'Keefe's body was found. There was less than 3 inches of snow on the ground at that time, so he used a leaf blower to clear off the light dusting and search for clues. He found transparent pieces of what appeared to be cocktail glass, but what he didn't find was 47 pieces of bright red taillights, some as big as a dinner plate, that Michael Proctor and the state police would find over the course of the next 3 weeks. The search was conducted on video too. Do you see any red taillight here? Transparent cocktail glass is much harder to see than bright red taillight on bright white snow. This cannot be emphasized enough. There was no taillight anywhere near John's body at 7 a.m., nor was there a missing shoe. Around this time, Karen Reed made statements that she was suicidal and she was sectioned for the next 4 to 5 hours. During this time, the McAlberts were allowed to talk together away from police and get their story straight. At 9 a.m., McCabe called Lank on his cell phone to tell him that she suddenly remembered Karen saying, "Could I have hit him?" Her story later evolved at trial to, "Did I hit him?" But she accused Lank of misquoting her in the original report. Police knew that protecting the crime scene was essential, especially since it was snowing and evidence could easily get buried. But the Canton police just left the crime scene completely abandoned the entire day. No crime scene tape put up, no cops to watch over the area and make sure the scene wasn't tampered with.
Crime scene's completely open.
Yes.
Unsecured.
Yes.
And Brian Albert didn't offer his house up as a command center for officers to come out of the cold. Blood droplets found at the scene were put in red Solo cups.
Just any solo cups or the solo cups that you took back to the station from 34 Fairview?
Were acquired from the deputy police chief, Tom Keller, who lived across the street.
It looks like an evidence bag. It just doesn't say Canton Police on it. It says Stop and Shop, but it does look like an evidence bag. It's the same thing.
It should be noted that Keller had a Ring camera pointed directly at the area where Commonwealth alleges that John was hit by a car. Michael Proctor never even asked to look at the Ring camera footage.
Because again, this is astounding. Look how close that is. It's right there.
I can even put my camera up there.
Yeah. Like that's the view it would have gotten.
Meanwhile, Proctor and his partner Yuri Buchanan didn't even go to 34 Fairview Road that day to investigate the scene. At 11:30, they decided it was finally time to interview some witnesses. But instead of separating them and recording their interviews at a police station, which is what detectives always do, they decided to interview just 4 witnesses: Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Nicole Albert, and Brian Albert at the McCabe's house. After being together all morning getting their story straight, the 4 of them drove across town in the middle of a blizzard where they were interviewed by Proctor and Buchanan. At no point was anyone in the house treated as a potential suspect who had to be ruled out. Their story was a simple one and was blindly taken as gospel by police. John O'Keefe never came in the house. But this story strained credulity because there's no possible way that none of them would hear or see a 3-ton vehicle striking a man, and that none of them would see his body laying on the lawn when they left. The 4 McAlberts all told the same story. They went out to the bar, things seemed fine. Karen and John pulled up outside. He never came in. She left. And in the morning, when Jen and Karen went out looking for him, Karen had a cracked taillight and said, "Could I have hit him?" upon finding his body. That was it. That was all Michael Proctor needed to hear to determine that Karen Reed was the killer. He didn't speak to anyone else, but he'd made up his mind by 12:30 p.m. By that time, no taillight pieces had been found, no one saw a body on the lawn, no surveillance video was pulled, and none of the first responders were interviewed. Nonetheless, Proctor and Buchanan had determined that Karen Reed was guilty, so they got in their car and drove to her parents' house in Dighton to seize her phone and car, which he knew was the murder weapon, based solely on what Jennifer McCabe had told him that Karen Reed had said. A cover-up is easier to cover up when you involve less people. It's not what the police did do during the investigation they made that made it a cover-up. It's what they intentionally didn't do. Proctor didn't interview Julie Nagel, Caitlin Albert, her boyfriend Tristan Morris, Brian Albert Jr., or any of the people who were admitted admittedly at the house that night. Sarah Levinson was in the house that night, and her name was kept hidden from the defense for almost a year. Julie Nagel wasn't interviewed until 9 months after O'Keefe's death, and only after the defense filed a motion in which they pointed out how impossible it would be for no one to have seen a body on the lawn. Conveniently, for the first time at her interview, Julie Nagel told Proctor that she saw a dark, shadowy figure on the front lawn. She didn't say it was a body because she would have had to call police if she did, but calling it a dark, shadowy figure was her way of suggesting that something might have been there without implicating herself. Conveniently, at trial, Julie Nagel's story also evolved, this time claiming that the dark, shadowy figure was actually a 5 to 6 foot black blob. She testified that she realized the next day that the black blob was John O'Keefe, but didn't come forward to speak with police about it. Then there's Colin Albert. Despite admittedly being at Brian Albert's house that night, Colin wasn't interviewed by police until 18 months after John's death, and only in regards to him being a victim of alleged witness intimidation. Conveniently, on the day Karen Reed was arrested, Colin's mother, Julie Albert, sent Proctor's sister Courtney a text message offering a thank you gift to Proctor for not interviewing Colin. Instead of telling her that this was unethical, Proctor told her to give the gift to his wife, Elizabeth, instead. Colin Albert never had to hand over his phone or answer any questions from police. His existence at the house was hidden, despite the fact that Steve Scanlon somehow knew he was there that night. Colin claimed that he was home in bed by 12:30, but yet at 12:33, minutes after Reed left 34 Fairview and John O'Keefe's phone moved for the last time, Colin called a friend named Erin Beatty. She didn't answer, as kids at that age almost never call each other, and when she contacted him the next day, he goes, never mind. For telling people this story, Erin Beatty and her father, Tom Beatty, were harassed and ostracized by adults in the Canton community. Jennifer McCabe and her friend Jill Thomas.
Yeah, that's a really good definition in Lemony. It's clear from watching, like, he's brash. Like, there's so much about Aidan that I necessarily don't agree with all the time. There's stuff that he does that I don't agree with. We will never probably agree politically, but based on, his videos and everything, like, and listening to him, you can tell what his intent is. It's never been about yeah, I agree. It's never been about, like, intimidating witnesses or anything like that. It's about shedding light on what's actually going on, like, I'm actually glad I found him because I realized, I live in Idaho. Idaho's far away from Massachusetts, but defamation. I don't think he's defamed them either. Honestly. I mean, has he called them names? Yes. Yeah, intimidating. Has he called them names? Yes. Has he made fun of them? Yes. However, I am too somewhere in my bloodline. Sorry, I'm eating ice cream. But the point is, like, I don't think that he's ever I don't think he's defamed them, and I don't think he's definitely not guilty of witness intimidation. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but my computer's like blowing up because I haven't turned notifications off on my streaming computer. So Oh, it's mint chocolate chip. What, if any, flavor? Yeah, it's mint chocolate chip. My son and my husband went to the store and bought 12 quarts of ice cream in one shot. Uh-huh.
You have no proof. Yeah. No proof
So,
of purchase.
except for the ice cream in the freezer, right?
Nope. You have no receipts? As far as you know, that ice cream was teleported there? Yep.
My lighter? Uh-huh. Okay. Let's get back to this.
Reportedly told 17-year-old Aaron Beatty to, quote, put a dick in your mouth instead of talking so much. Chris Albert confronted Tom Beatty and tried to get him to say that Colin never called Aaron that night. They were going out of their way to pressure the Beatty family to lie and cover for Colin. Since Colin didn't speak with police and his parents did the speaking for him, an alibi for Colin was finally presented at trial, claiming that he was picked up by Jennifer McCabe's daughter, Allie, at 12:10. As evidence, the Commonwealth submitted an unverified screenshot of a text message with the name Colin at the top. No cell break report, just a screenshot that Chris Albert gave prosecutor Adam Lally. At 12:10, Allie tells what she claims is Colin, "I'm here," but it doesn't say where here is. For all we know, she could have been picking up Colin to drive him to 34 Fairview, which would make sense because the party wasn't really starting until everyone else got back from the bar. Allie testified that she was driving people around all night and that Colin Albert was her last pickup at 12:10. She said she was home in bed by 12:30, but there was just one problem with that. Her Life 360 data shows that she was driving around till 1:30. But just like all the phone calls and Google searches in this case, the Commonwealth's response to this was that it was just a mistake. If we're to believe Colin's story, it would mean that a 17-year-old who likes to drink and party asked Allie McCabe for a ride to 34 Fairview Road to wish his much older cousin a happy birthday in person, then had her pick him up 90 minutes later in order to get him back home as soon as his fun uncle and his friends showed up to party. Right. Meanwhile, Chris Albert initially testified that he left the Waterfall bar and was home at between 12:05 and 12:10. He said that Colin got home 15 to 20 minutes later and came upstairs to say goodnight to his parents. There was a problem with that story, though. Chris is seen on surveillance video at the Waterfall bar at 12:13, and it would take him at least 7 to 8 minutes for him to walk home from there. By his own admittance, his son Colin got home much closer to 12:45, which meanwhile, Chris Albert initially testified that he left the Waterfall bar and was home at between 12:05 and 12:10. He said that Colin got home 15 to 20 minutes later and came upstairs to say goodnight to his parents. There was a problem with that story, though. Chris is seen on surveillance video at the Waterfall bar at 12:13, and it would take him at least 7 to 8 minutes for him to walk home from there. By his own admittance, his son Colin got home much closer to 12:45, which would mean that he was still at Brian Albert's house when John O'Keefe arrived. This is why the defense is so suspicious of Colin Albert. The McAlberts and the Commonwealth are insistent that Colin wasn't there when John O'Keefe was allegedly killed. But why would it matter if he was inside and John O'Keefe was killed outside by Karen Reed? Why did he call Aaron Beatty, a girl he wasn't dating, out of the blue at 12:33? Why did his family try to silence the Beattys? Why did his mother offer Proctor a thank you gift? And why were his knuckles so cut up in a picture a few weeks later? Colin had an explanation for that too, which illustrated just how easily he could lie with a straight face.
And I was walking up the driveway and I slipped down the driveway and I tried to catch myself, but I had something in my left hand. So I tried to brace myself with my right hand and I ended up sliding a little bit down the driveway.
Right. Obviously, that was a lie, which begs the question, if he didn't do anything wrong, why did he have to lie? Colin also testified he'd never been in a fight before. Shortly after that, the internet found 3 videos of him fighting, proving that he lied about that too. Why lie if you have nothing to hide?
You're a bitch, bro.
Hi, Jim Edge. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I didn't say it right. I've never had rum and raisin ice cream, but that for some reason sounds really, really good. I don't know if they have that kind in America because, you know, we're lame. But so yeah, but it's a bucket list thing to go to the UK. My aunt is actually living there right now. She got her master's there. She went to university there and got her master's, and not sure in what, but yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds really good. But there's one that has like bourbon in it that I really love. I can't think of the flavor right now, but it's Haagen-Dazs and it's really good. But I really want to go to the UK. Like, I just want to go to Europe in general. Like, no, because you already had one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And not me. Oh.
Anyway, so sorry about the dead air. Back to this.
Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you, you pussy. Yeah. Clean code, boy. You be knocked out. KO. Bang, bang.
These are questions an investigator looking for the truth could have grilled him on. Colin was a hothead and previously had issues with O'Keefe. But when the lead investigator is Michael Proctor, whose mother describes Colin's family as a second family, you don't have to worry about being questioned by police. But perhaps the most obvious witness that Proctor went out of his way not to speak to was Brian Lucky Loughran. Proctor interviewed DPW Director Michael Trotta and claimed that Trotta told him that the Canton DPW does not plow Fairview Road. This was an outright lie. I tracked down Mr. Trotta and asked him myself.
For any reason that Lucky Loughran, Brian Loughran, would have been plowing that road at 2:30 in the morning?
We generally have 2 people on every route. So there's usually a town plow with a contract plow.
After that, I tracked down Lucky, who was happy to tell me what he witnessed that morning. Lucky said that he did first plow Brian Albert's house at 2:30 and didn't see a body on the lawn. When I asked him if he would have seen a body if a body was there, he was insistent that he would because bright lights and constantly looking on the yards and scanning sidewalks in case animals ran into the road. Lucky told me that when he tried to do another plow at Fairview Road an hour later, he couldn't because there was a Ford Edge parked in the exact spot where John O'Keefe's body would be discovered 3 hours later. At least 3 members of the Albert family, Kevin, Brian, and Colin, owned a Ford Edge at the time. If there was no body on the lawn at 2:30, which Lucky Loughran and 7 other witnesses said there was not, then Karen Reed couldn't have struck him at 12:30. Then a Ford Edge appeared. Then there was a body. You do the math. The fact that the state police didn't put out an all-points bulletin looking for that Ford Edge is all the evidence you need to know that this was a cover-up. Remember, this cover-up wasn't so much what the cops did to cover it up. It was what they chose not to do. Choosing not to interview Lucky Loughran was deliberate. They knew that if they spoke to him, he was going to say there wasn't a body on the front lawn. And logically, they'd have to pursue whoever was driving the Ford Edge since they were allegedly right next to a dead cop on the lawn. Michael Proctor didn't want to pursue any leads that didn't point to Karen Reed. The state police finally decided to interview Lucky Loughran 18 months after the death of John O'Keefe and 2 days after I published this bombshell interview with him. But Proctor and Buchanan weren't trying to learn more about the Ford Edge. They were trying to discredit his testimony and get him to say that I illegally wiretapped Lucky. At trial, Brian Tully testified that he didn't investigate the Ford Edge because Loughran couldn't possibly be sure it was a Ford Edge. But it had 4 wheels and an engine, and whoever was driving it was supposedly parked next to a dead body that police think was run over by a car. So wouldn't you want to find out who that person was and speak with them? Nah, better just spin it on Karen Reed. Rather than question any of these witnesses, Proctor and Buchanan drove to Dighton to seize Karen Reed's car, which they hadn't seen yet because they were certain that it was a murder weapon. No taillight had been discovered at the scene yet. At 2:30, they called and asked Dighton police for a tow. When they arrived an hour or so later, they didn't take a picture of Karen Reed's car to show the condition of the taillight before it had been towed, according to Michael Proctor's report. And as with all the witnesses, they didn't record any of their interviews with Karen. Reed's car was towed at 5:30 p.m. This time is critical because the state police began searching the area where John O'Keefe's body was discovered at 5:45 and found 4 pieces of taillight. If the car was towed at 5:30, then there was no way it could get from Dighton to Canton in a blizzard, normally a 40-minute drive, in time to plant taillight. But as it turned out, Michael Proctor was lying about what time he towed the car. Video surveillance from the Reed's house shows the car being towed at 4:12, and a Dighton police report confirmed this. This meant that Proctor was unaccounted for with Reed's car for 78 minutes and would have more than enough time to get the vehicle to Canton and plant taillight before the state police search at 5:45. Nevertheless, in pretrial hearings, the Commonwealth continued to lie about what time the car was towed. Adam Lally said in court filings that Bill Reed's ring video didn't reset for daylight savings, but the sun set that day at 4:56, and there was still sunlight in the video at 4:12. Eventually, after realizing that they couldn't lie their way out of this one, the Commonwealth called it a scrivener's error, even though the digits 412 are nowhere near 530 on a keyboard. The state police CERT team, led by Lieutenant O'Hara, began arriving at 34 Fairview Road at 4:51 to search the area where John's body was discovered. By that point, Proctor's commanding officer, Lieutenant Brian Tully, determined that O'Keefe was hit by a car and told O'Hara that they were looking for pieces of taillight. The scene was unsecured the entire day, and more than 18 inches of snow had fallen since the Canton police searched the area and didn't find a single piece of taillight. Internal messages show that the CERT team was ready to start digging at 5:30, but that Lieutenant Tully did not give them the green light. Time was of the essence, and snow was continuing to fall. What was Tully waiting for? Simple. They needed to wait for Karen Reed's car to arrive in Canton first. They could have brought the vehicle to any state police barracks close to Dighton, including Middleborough or Foxborough. Yet they insisted on bringing the car to the Canton Police Department less than 2 miles away from Brian Albert's house where Kevin Albert was working. The car is seen on video, which was shown for the first time in Reed's first trial, entering the Canton Police Sallyport garage at 5:36 p.m. Proctor could be seen hanging around what appears to be the left rear taillight, which was not broken. In other words, there was no evidence Proctor went anywhere near Reed's broken right rear taillight, except there's just one problem. The video shown in court was intentionally inverted. What appeared to be left was actually right, and Proctor was hanging out there for a while.
In the video, the word police appears backwards on another vehicle parked in the garage. So does the number 4 on one of the garage's overhead doors. Defense attorney Alan Jackson believes it was no accident.
The timestamp across the bottom is not inverted.
And there appears to be somebody standing near it.
Who's the guy in the watch cap, in the winter cap, back there by that right rear taillight the entire time by himself? That's Proctor.
The Commonwealth was trying to deceive the jury. The cover-up was happening right in front of millions of people. For 20 seconds at 5:37, the video cuts out. And when it begins again, you could see another unknown man who was not in the video before, leaving the area where Proctor was standing by the right rear taillight. Who was this man? And did he have pieces of taillight with him when he left? Was it Kevin Albert or Brian Higgins' close friend, Chief Ken Berkowitz? The Commonwealth still can't explain who that was. But coincidentally, 5 minutes later, after that, Lieutenant Tully gave the CERT team the go-ahead to begin their search. Lieutenant O'Hara testified that he had no no idea who several members of the CERT team were, but said that he believed they were Canton police. Minutes after they began searching, someone, they never said who, found a piece of red taillight under 18 inches of snow. This was the exact same area Lieutenant Gallagher searched on video during the daylight with a leaf blower on video and did not find any taillight. Yet the CERT team was able to find it under all that snow with minimal effort in the dark 10 minutes after Reed's car arrived at Canton police. Whoever this officer who found the taillight was never testified at trial. They also found John's missing size 12 shoe that the Canton police completely missed during their search. So either the Canton police are blind and incompetent, or the taillight in the shoe were planted. Shortly after that, someone on the CERT team found 3 more pieces of taillight. Once again, we don't know who, but Brian Tully had seen enough. And now that he had some physical evidence linking Reed to the crime scene, he shut down the search. O'Hara offered to come back the next day in the daylight to search some more, but Tully told him he was all set. Instead, the state police were instructed to drive by on their way to work to see if any taillight presented itself. And wouldn't you know it, it did. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, Chief Berkowitz, Sergeant Buchanan, and Proctor found a total of 47 pieces of red taillight. The pieces actually became bigger as time went by, leading to this dinner-sized plate discovered by Proctor on February 18th. You got that? Canton police, the CERT team, and everyone who went to the house for 3 weeks didn't see that piece of taillight just a few feet from the curb. Of course, Proctor didn't take any pictures of any of this because documenting isn't really his thing. After all, it's just the murder of a cop. Who cares about completely incorrect police reports? No chain of custody and a complete lack of documentation. You would think after the second or third time the taillight presented itself that the state police would have preserved the crime scene, but not these Keystone cops. They just kept doing their drive-bys until they could put the entire taillight together like a jigsaw puzzle. Here's the problem though. Reed's taillight did not look like this when she pulled out of John's driveway at 507 seconds after backing into his car. As you can see, the taillight was cracked, but not completely broken. Don't take my word for it. Listen to Dayton Police Sergeant Nicholas Barrows, who observed the condition of the taillight at the Reed house and made sure to point out,
I saw that there was some damage to the right rear taillight. To my best ability and recollection, that taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
Perhaps the biggest obstacle for the Commonwealth was explaining John O'Keefe's injuries. In the words of John's brother, Paul O'Keefe, John looked like he had gone 5 rounds with Mike Tyson. People who get backed in the cars have bruises and broken bones, but not John O'Keefe. Instead, John had 2 black eyes, a 3-inch laceration in the back of the head that looks like he was hit by a blunt object, and parallel linear cuts exclusively on his right arm. And did I mention that Brian Albert owned an aggressive German Shepherd named Chloe with a documented history of biting strangers and dogs? They tried to hide this from the court by opposing a defense motion for Canton Animal Control records and having Brian Albert's attorney, Greg Henning, lie in open court by claiming that Chloe never bit a human being. Animal control records show that Chloe sent at least 2 people to the ER. According to Dr. Marie Russell, who has done thousands of autopsies, those are dog bites on John's arm. And guess what? The 6-year-old family dog was suddenly rehomed a few months after John's murder. They claim that Chloe is somewhere in Vermont, but won't say where. Oh, and they sold the house and they ripped up the basement floor too. But there's nothing suspicious about that. The Commonwealth originally claimed that Karen Reed struck John O'Keefe while doing a 3-point turn, and they stuck to this theory for the first 18 months after Reed's arrest. But after a turtle rider pointed out that it would have meant that the wrong taillight was broken, they quickly abandoned that theory. So how did John get those cuts on his arm? Surely the grass didn't do that. And if he had gotten run over, then his body would be covered in bruises and broken bones. The jury needed an explanation from an expert, and that's where this guy came in. Trooper Joseph Paul is Norfolk County's crash reconstruction expert, and he's got an associate's degree in administration to prove it. For the first time at trial, the Commonwealth explained that John was actually standing in the middle of a blizzard with his arm extended into the street. He had just gotten into a huge fight with Karen, and even though everyone was out that night, they seemed happy together. According to Trooper Paul, Karen Reed, who was parked in front of the neighbor's house for some reason, began gunning it in reverse, hitting 24 miles an hour in just 62 feet. She sideswiped John O'Keefe, and the taillight hit John exclusively in the arm that was hanging out over the road for some reason. This caused the taillight to shatter into 47 pieces, all of which the Canton Police Department couldn't find in broad daylight. After striking John's arm, it caused him to then catapult 30 feet and do a pirouette in midair before hitting his head on the curb and then bouncing another 10 feet onto the grass, where he finally came to his final resting place on top of his phone. How did his phone end up underneath him, you ask? Trooper Paul had an answer for that too.
What's your theory? How that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet?
It just did.
Just did. And somehow, as landed, tucked that cell phone underneath his body to land on top.
It just did. That's the evidence at the scene. I didn't know the
It
evidence
just
there.
did.
So
Well, he didn't.
It just did. Okay. And how did he get the
So dumb. Like the fact that they went through 2 trials to try and get this woman convicted of killing a Boston police officer still to this day blows my mind. Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl. Oh, do y'all want to see another baby? Would you like to see another kitten? Kitten break. Oh, hang on. Let me change this is Mary B. You may have seen pictures and videos of her on Mary's. She doesn't like being held up, but this is Mary B. Aria, out. Sorry, y'all. Get away.
You were supposed to go play.
What? You hear? She's so talkative. She's saying, hi, everybody. Okay.
What?
Thank you. That's this.
Laceration in the back of his head? Simple. The grass did it. You see, it was cold out that day, and when it gets cold, the ground turns into a blunt object that causes a cut like this, which looks like Professor Plum hit you with a lead pipe. I decided to test this theory out to see if it was even possible to accelerate to 24 miles an hour and 62 feet. This is 62 feet. We're going to mark it off right here. All right. Boom. All right. And that's where 62 feet is. See my car up there? See where the chalk marker is on the ground? That's 62 feet. So look at, you mark 62 feet off, right? So that's where Karen Reed started. That's where the back of her car started, okay? And you see the line down there, the other line, that's where he got hit. Okay, so I mean, that's 62 feet. So this dude just stood here and is like, yeah, come hit me. Come hit me. Like, by the way, look how far away the car is. You see somebody coming at you in reverse like that? That's plenty of time to get away, right? Oh, yeah. Just jump out of the way. The first time I hit 14 miles per hour and ended up driving over the curb because the road curves right where his body was found.
You're on the curb. Yeah, you're on the grass.
And then I got up to 17 miles an hour, and finally, when I put the pedal to the metal, I was able to hit 19. So I hit 19 miles an hour there. That was pretty, that felt fast as shit.
Yeah, it looked fast.
And let me tell you, it was scary. Try going that fast in reverse, and you'll see that it feels like a roller coaster. It's not natural. There's no possible way you could accidentally run into someone at that speed. Keep in mind, I did this in perfect conditions with a Lexus that had a comparable engine to Reed's car. I couldn't come close to 24 miles an hour, and I wasn't a good enough driver to avoid the curb. But the Commonwealth would have you believe that Karen Reed transformed into a NASCAR driver, hitting 24 miles an hour in 62 feet, cutting the wheel just in time to intentionally hit her target in the arm. Oh yeah, and no one inside the house saw or heard it happen. And they call us conspiracy theorists. You don't have to be a doctor to realize that this was complete bullshit. But luckily, the defense had not one, but two doctors who testified as to the scientific reasoning why John O'Keefe wasn't hit by a car. Dr. Daniel Wolf and Dr. Andrew Rentschler are crash reconstruction experts who work for a company called ARCA. They have contracts with the Department of Defense and the NHL and were hired by someone, the defense wasn't allowed to say who, at trial, to run tests in order to see if John O'Keefe's injuries could have come from a motor vehicle collision. They made it clear that the laws of physics said that John O'Keefe could not have been hit by a car and that a side swipe would not knock him out of his shoe. So not only does the red taillight bloom on Brian Albert's front lawn like a perennial plant every February, but Newton's laws of physics also ceased to exist there at that time. After Reed was indicted for murder, arrested, and released on a $100,000 bail, she realized the Commonwealth was pressuring her to take a plea deal for manslaughter. Video footage of her arrest and booking on June 9th, 2023 shows Reed telling Sergeant Buchanan,
Okay, you're aware of you beaten up by Brian and Calm Albert. We're all in on the same joke, right? My taillight was cracked and John was polarized.
Karen realized that she was up against the most powerful and corrupt government officials who felt political pressure to get a conviction for an alleged cop killer. In September of 2022, she hired high-profile LA-based attorney Alan Jackson and his associate Elizabeth Little, specifically because of Jackson's experience with cell phone data extraction. Jackson had previously represented Kevin Spacey in Nantucket after he was falsely accused of sexually assaulting a young man. The data extraction showed that a number of exculpatory text messages from the alleged victim's phone were deleted by his mother, Heather Unruh, a WCVB reporter, and Jackson got the case thrown out. In October of 2022, the Reed team filed a motion asking the court to order that several people inside the house, including Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, preserve their phones. For the first time, they put on the record their theory that John O'Keefe was killed inside the house and that Karen was framed afterward. Shortly after the motion was filed, Brian Albert's youngest brother, Tim Albert, posted this ominous, threatening message on Facebook telling the world that if you fuck with his family, he won't hesitate to make you the most miserable person. Judge Peter Krupp allowed the motion for the preservation order, but the day before it was to be put into place, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were tipped off to it by the Norfolk County DA's victim witness advocate, Steve Nelson. Brian Albert immediately got rid of his phone, and Higgins removed his SIM card, placed the phone and SIM card in separate trash bags, and drove them to an Army base in Cape Cod where he disposed of them in a dumpster. They both pretended that this was normal when they testified. Back to the ARC experts. Guess who hired them? Not the defense. It was actually the FBI. Shortly after the addition of Jackson and Little, Reed's defense team reached out to the United States Attorney's Office because they believed their client was the victim of a police cover-up and corruption in the DA's office. The USAO easily could have ignored them, but they found their claims credible and ended up launching an investigation into the investigation of John O'Keefe sometime around December of 2022. On April 10th, 2023, Colin Albert Albert was visited in his Bridgewater State dorm room by 2 FBI officials with a subpoena to appear before a federal grand jury. Several others inside the house also received summons, including Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. I wrote my first story in the Canton cover-up a week later, and the Karen Reed case blew up overnight. In May of 2023, Lucky Loughran was also visited by 2 FBI agents as he repeated the same story that he told me. There was no body on Brian Albert's front lawn at 2:30. Everyone in the house immediately lawyered up. Brian Albert's family hired attorney Greg Henning. Colin Albert hired Joe Krowski Jr., and Higgins hired Brian Connolly. Higgins immediately cut tie with the Albert family and began ignoring their messages. Clearly, they were worried about what Higgins would tell the grand jury. This prompted Kevin Albert to send a text message to Higgins telling him that he was making everyone worried. But worried about what? Just tell him the guy never came in the house. Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, Sarah Levinson, Julie Nagel, Michael Proctor, and several others ended up testifying before a closed-door grand jury session. Although no indictments have come as of yet, the FBI hired ARCA to see if Karen Reed could be ruled out as a suspect. She was. From there, they began secretly monitoring the McAlberts and Proctor's phones, and their suspicious, incriminating text messages were included in a 3,000-page report that was given to both the Commonwealth and the defense shortly before trial. The report is what showed Brian Albert and Higgins were tipped off to destroy their phones. The investigation discovered that Albert and Higgins lied to the state grand jury that indicted Karen Reed when they testified they were sleeping at 2 a.m. At 2:22 a.m., Albert called Higgins, but Higgins didn't answer. Higgins called back right away, and they spoke for 22 seconds. After being confronted with the fact that they clearly lied about being asleep, Higgins and Albert came up with a new lie. They butt-dialed and butt-answered each other. In fact, Albert testified that after drinking all day, the man in his 50s decided to have sex with his wife, Nicole, and while they were having sex, he butt-answered Higgins' butt-dial. A February 1st, 2022 group text message with the McCabes and Alberts shows that Matt McCabe was telling the others to instruct Chris Albert to tell the media.
Tell them the guy never went in the house, correct?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe, who was the guy that you were referring to? Does he have a name?
That would be John.
Guy. So, we are going over frame 2, and then tomorrow I'm going to start watching some of Aidan's videos. Yeah, I think tomorrow. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
Why would they need to instruct Chris Albert, who wasn't at 34 Fairview Road that night, to say this if John never came inside the house? The text also showed that the McAlberts were heavily monitoring police activity at the scene and discussing who was telling the police what. A Quantico-trained forensic expert from the FBI also confirmed that Jennifer McCabe's Google search happened at 2:27. But perhaps the most damning thing the FBI discovered were Michael Proctor's text messages. On the evening of January 29th, 2022, when one of his friends named Bird asked Proctor if the homeowner would, quote, get some shit for having a dead cop on his lawn, Proctor responded by saying, nope, homeowner is a Boston cop. Literally saying that the reason Brian Albert wouldn't be treated as a potential suspect as he normally would was because of his status as a police officer. The messages with his friends that night show that he had already decided that Karen Reed and Karen Reed alone was guilty, telling them that there will be, quote, serious charges brought on the girl. He couldn't hide his disdain for Karen Reed, telling his friends,
she's a whack job.
These are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Cunt. Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
When asked if she would be skating on the charges, he replied, 0 chances she skates. She's fucked. He told them that, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP, indicating political pressure to charge Reed quickly. Proctor's text not only showed his bias, it showed what a pig he was. When asked if she was attractive, Proctor made fun of her medical condition.
She's got a leaky blue nod, leaks poo.
On the day that she was indicted, Proctor texted fellow Norfolk State Police Detective David DeChico and said that Reed was attractive.
If you like women who shit themselves.
Right before arresting Reed for murder on June 9, Proctor texted his wife Elizabeth and told her, we're going to lock this whack job up. On August 17th, in a group text that included his superior officers, Lieutenant Fanning and Sergeant Buchanan, Proctor said that he was going through David Yanetti's
recorded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Since Yanetti was alleging that Proctor's investigation was flawed. Proctor's text also showed that he and DeChico discussed ways to manipulate the medical examiner. Proctor called ME Irene Scortibello a whack job because her report said that the cause of John's death was undetermined. DeChico mocked Proctor for not being able to pressure the ME to come back with the homicide determination. Proctor really hated Scortibello, and she turned out to be a great witness for the defense of the trial because she testified that John could have been hit with a blunt object. Perhaps most disturbing was Proctor's text messages with his sister Courtney, in which they both talk about how they hope Karen Reed kills herself so that the O'Keefe family didn't have to sit through a trial. Jurors were never told about the federal investigation, so they had no idea that all of these text messages came from the feds, or that ARCA was hired by the feds, or that the investigation itself was so suspect that the U.S. Attorney himself, Josh Levy, had conducted a grand jury in which all these witnesses were grilled about their lives. Jurors afterwards said that they thought ARCA was paid to lie by Karen Reed's car insurance company. Had they known about the federal investigation, it certainly would have impacted their verdict, which is exactly why Judge Beverly Cannoni didn't allow it to be mentioned in court. Speaking of Judge Cannoni, the former public defender hasn't exactly tried to hide her obvious bias for the favor of the Commonwealth. Judge Cannoni wouldn't allow the defense to hold an evidentiary hearing. She allowed the Commonwealth witnesses who aren't doctors to testify about the causation of injuries, but not defense witnesses, and put sanctions on defense attorneys over misunderstanding involving paying for witnesses, travel expenses, but never once reprimanded the Commonwealth for presenting an inverted video at trial. In July of 2023, the defense filed a motion to recuse the judge after Matt McCabe's brother Sean messaged this award-winning journalist and said that he was going to murder me and bury my corpse in the front yard of Auntie Bev's seaside cottage. Somehow, Sean McCabe knew that Cannoni owned a seaside cottage down the Cape that was just a couple miles from his house. Additionally, Judge Cannoni's brother is a lawyer who represented Chris Albert in 1994 when Albert was convicted of killing a Hungarian foreign exchange student in a hit-and-run car crash. To the surprise of no one, Judge Cannoni denied the motion to recuse after determining that she wasn't biased. Little did I realize that Sean McCabe was going to be the least of my problems. You see, I was too effective at getting the word out about the Commonwealth's blatant corruption. I was holding protests on the courthouse steps before hearings, and even held a rolling rally in Canton where we stopped at the homes of the McAlberts and Proctors for 5 minutes each, and I explained to the crowd of 100 or so people what they'd done to cover up the murder of John O'Keefe. The state police and Norfolk DA's office really didn't like this. In August of 23, DA Michael Morrissey issued a press release video in which he inappropriately vouched for the truthfulness of the McAlberts, said that Michael Proctor didn't know any of the witnesses, and demanded that the protests stop. But of course, we didn't.
Colin Albert did commit murder. Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Brian Albert. These people were not part of a conspiracy and certainly did not commit murder or any crime that night. They have been forthcoming with authority, provided statements, and have not engaged in any cover-up. They are not suspects in any crime. They are merely witnesses in the case.
Oh.
Trooper Proctor had no close personal relationship with any of the parties involved in the investigation.
What?
Had no conflict. And he had no reason to step out of the investigation. Every suggestion to the contrary is a lie.
On September 25th, 2023, I published a story after getting a tip that a car resembling Jennifer McCabe's was seen parked at the Proctor's house. If true, it would mean that Morrissey had lied in the statement about the Proctors not being friends with any of the witnesses. In order to verify this, I asked Turtle Riders if one of them could run a license plate for me and gave them the license plate number of the car parked outside Proctor's house. Several people ran it for me, but one of them was an Avon police dispatcher named Janelle Webb, and it was traced back to her. For the crime of peacefully protesting, reporting the news, and exposing the fact that Michael Morrissey is a liar, I was arrested on October 11th, 2023 at my kid's bus stop and charged with 9 counts of felony witness intimidation, 3 counts of picketing, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit witness intimidation. I was indicted 2 months later. Since I was out on bail, another charge would mean that my bail could be revoked for 60 days. Naturally then, Brian Tully and Special Prosecutor Ken Mello began conspiring with the side chick I was seeing on Friday nights, deputized her as a witness, and got her to invite me over her apartment so that they could falsely accuse me of hitting her and have me charged with witness intimidation. For that, I was sentenced to 60 days in jail on my birthday, the day after Christmas. The trial began on April of 2024 and lasted almost 3 months. On the final day of closing statements, Judge Cannoni called up a juror who was visibly disgusted by the Commonwealth throughout most of the trial and told her that she'd been reported by Lieutenant John Fanning, who was somehow in charge of juror security, for allegedly talking about the case at a bar 6 weeks prior. And Judge Cannoni then appointed a former cop who was hit by a car to be the jury foreman, exempting him from the lottery that would determine who the alternates were. Clerk Jim McDermott drew 2 numbers out of a bucket but didn't show anyone in court what those numbers were. 2 other jurors who planned on voting not guilty were named alternates and not allowed to deliberate. After 5 days of deliberations,
the deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles.
Hey, Right Son, good to see you. I guess. I'm glad the cool kids are here. Thank you for coming.
And moral convictions. To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
Judge Cannoni declared a mistrial without polling any of the jurors. Just when you thought things couldn't get any more corrupt, jurors started speaking out afterwards.
The one charge that we were not very clear on and not everybody was in agreement with was essentially the manslaughter charge, involuntary manslaughter. So that was the one that we were not clear on. But the other 2 charges, which was essentially second-degree murder as well as leaving a scene of an accident, was very clear. We all 12 agreed that was not the case.
And since the jury instructions were not clear, they had no idea that they could quit on 2 charges and hang on the 3rd. So now Karen Reed will have to face those charges again, despite half the jury coming forward and swearing that they voted to acquit her. Trial 2 will be very different from the first trial. Michael Proctor has been fired, and it's unclear if he or the disastrous Joseph Hall will be called as witnesses by the Commonwealth. We know that they've abandoned several of their own witnesses that were favorable to Karen Reed, and they've added fake YouTube doctors as expert witnesses who will try to prove that Trooper Paul what he couldn't do in the first trial. The Norfolk County DA's office has hired mob attorney Hank Brennan, a close personal friend of mass murderer Whitey Bulger, to be lead prosecutor for the Commonwealth. They have dozens of ADAs who get paid to do that job already, but all of them refuse to do it, and there was no way they were going with Lunchbox Lally again. Brennan claimed that he wanted to ensure Karen Reed got a fair trial, but since taking over, he spent most of his time trying to prevent her witnesses from testifying. Thus far, Brennan has shown a deep personal obsession with getting things he's not entitled to, like phone records for me and everyone in Karen Reed's family. But the facts and the science remain on the side of Karen Reed. Some may say that it's hard to believe that this many people could be involved in conspiracy, but it's really not that complicated. 5 well-connected people with ties to law enforcement, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, and Brian Higgins, spoke to police after being alone for hours and getting their simple story straight. The guy never came in the house. The lead detective was from Canton, and his family called the Alberts a second family. All he had to do was cover for them, plant some taillight, and avoid doing normal detective work. His bosses instinctively covered for him because cops don't snitch on other cops. From there, it's just people trusting institutions. It all makes sense. It all fits. Karen Reed defying the laws of physics, cell phone data no longer being reliable evidence, and eyewitnesses not seeing something that they definitely should have seen does not make any sense. There can never be justice for John O'Keefe without justice for Karen Reed. She is undeniably innocent, which means by default that the McAlberts Alberts are undeniably guilty. We may never know exactly what happened to John O'Keefe when he went inside Brian Albert's house, but we know as a fact that he was beaten up by several people, attacked by a dog, and thrown out on the lawn to die in the cold. We know as a fact that the state police are well aware of this and that they allowed Michael Proctor to intentionally subvert justice. But we also know that we will never stop fighting for justice until Karen Read is free. As we now head into trial 2, we are expecting more facts proving Karen Read's innocence to come out in court. I will be there every step of the way, documenting, reporting, and fighting for real justice for John O'Keefe and for Karen Read.
Okay, that's the end of that. Yeah, he does look really, really young. Hi, weird girl. Welcome. I think actually, you know what? Let's watch the other video too while we're at it. We're gonna take a music break and then we will come back and we will watch the video about Aidan's charges. And here's a song I did called If She Fights It, because it's turned into an entire episode. Here we go.
Telling the guy never went in the house. Your silence is the loudest thing in the room. 32 minutes after 3 o'clock, sitting on the sofa, wait for Michael Proctor and the Sues. They took a life, they took a piece, they took the truth. Nervous habit humming in the hall. Sweat beads hitting up kitchen towel. The tail light piece fits perfectly now. Look at the flurry of the law. Look at the fury of the judge. Look at the mess you made. If she fights it, then it's an episode. Brian, check the burner in your pocket. Keep it shut. Denied and buried under the bench. Don't you dare read that text out loud. Panic in the sidebar. Keep the secrets under the gravel. Write a vulgar word on the stamp. Bev likes the filth. Bev hates the phone. Bev blocks the door. Dream frame souls in a small town frame. Reject the devils at the high school gate. 64 minutes to clear the scene. Look at the flurry of the law. Look at the fury of the judge. Look at the mess you made. If she fights it, then it's an episode. Brian, check the burner in your pocket. Keep it shut. Denied and buried under the bed. Jen is watching. Nicole is waiting. Carrie is talking to the feds. While you hum that nervous tune. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Plant the glass, don't supplant the lead. If she fights it, then it's an episode. Brian, check the burner in your pocket. Keep it shut. Denied and buried under the bench.
Okay, we're back. Now we're gonna watch the video on Aidan's charges, and then after we're done with this, we'll be done. Okay, so here we go.
On October 11th, I was arrested at a children's bus stop at the State Police Fugitive Unit and informed that I was being charged with 8 counts of felony witness intimidation, 4 charges of picketing a witness, and 1 charge of conspiracy to commit witness intimidation in regards to my activism and reporting on the Karen Read case. The very same police I have been exposing were the ones who charged me and showed up at my house to have me arrested and seize all of my devices.
On December 22nd, 2023, my case was moved to Superior Court as I was indicted on 9 counts of felony witness intimidation, 5 counts of picketing a witness, and 3 counts of conspiracy to commit witness intimidation. My arrest and indictment received extensive media coverage, and throughout the camera retrial, they were mentioned whenever my name was brought up. This was nothing more than a way for the Commonwealth to discredit my journalism because I was too effective in exposing corruption in the state police and Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. However, no one in the media has actually sat down and analyzed the charging documents to see exactly what the Commonwealth alleges was illegal about my behavior. If they did, then they would see just how flimsy these charges are and how the DA's office is attempting to use the unconstitutional witness intimidation statute in order to criminalize protected speech and journalism in Norfolk County. On March 5th, in Norfolk Superior Court, we will be arguing our motion to dismiss, but I wanted to make this video so you can see for yourself just how outrageous these charges really are. The Commonwealth made it seem like I was threatening to visit the home of witnesses relentlessly in a live stream. But actual video shows I was talking about returning to Canton to see a DPW worker who was giving me the runaround.
94, February returns to Canton. This is a video posted shortly after Karen visited homes of witnesses. This is not my last trip to Canton. I will be back. I'll be back. Get used to this. These people think I'm fucking around. You haven't seen the last of it. Get used to it. Get used to it. Get 119 more.
They combined sentences from 2 different clips. I will be back was encouraging people not to be afraid of the McAlberts. This is not my last trip to Canton. I will be back. And more, I think people are getting, like a year or so ago, people didn't want to cooperate with the Karen Reed defense team because like, yeah, it's easy to keep my head down and, whatever, and keep a low profile. But now, now they're like, fuck it. We've made people realize like, you don't have nothing to be afraid of. The big bad monster's not going to bite you. We neutered their ass. They can't do anything. They're not so tough anymore, are they?
This is not my last trip to Canton. I will be back. I'll be back. Get used to this. These people think I'm fucking around. You haven't seen the last of it. Get used to it. Get used to it. Get 119 more.
These people think I'm fucking around. You haven't seen the last of me. Get used to it. Get used to it. But the Commonwealth makes it seem like I'm talking about harassing the McAlberts, which obviously sounds bad. But this was intentionally deceptive. I was actually referring to a DPW employee who was giving me the runaround. And I said that I will be back to get information on who plowed Fairview Road the night that John O'Keefe was killed.
I can leave the message, sir. Yep, I can leave a message and I'll get it to him.
Now watch this. Watch this. She goes, how do I spell the last name, sir? She had already written out my first name and spelled it correctly. She knows who I am. She didn't have to ask my first name. She didn't even have to ask what my last name was. She just asked how to spell it. She had already spelled my name. She knows who I am at this point. People are messaging me now and they're saying that she is a friend. She lives in Tim Albert's neighborhood and she is best friends with the Weeks girls, that is the McCabe sisters. So this is what we're dealing with here. This is the home cooking. So I'll be back, Miss Boy's regular. I'll be back. You haven't seen the last of me because he never called. Walshy never called me today. Try never called me. If you think you're going to get rid of me that easily, you're badly mistaken. I will literally sit there all day. All day. Like, we'll order Chinese. I'll make a day of it. I'll just sit there all freaking day because he's got to come back sometime. I'll be like, I've unfinished business. We didn't see Michael Morrissey today. I'll be back. Like, get used to this. Like, these people think I'm fucking around. Like, I'm Mr. Internet guy. Like, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna write blogs all day. And that's okay. Just writing blogs and just ignore them, whatever. No. I live an hour away. It's not. I got a Lexus now. It's not a problem. It's got great mileage and a good engine. I'll be there in an hour. No problem. Like, I'll get used to it. Get used to it. The Commonwealth alleges I intimidated Chris Albert by telling him he should stop going out in public because, quote, turtle riders are everywhere and that life as normal is over.
Episode 598. Karen Reed defense files motion to recuse. This guy, Chris Albert, had his head on the swivel looking for turtle riders. I got bad news for you, Chris. I got really bad news for you. They are literally everywhere. You guys should just stop going out in public. It's only going to get worse from here. I know we all were today. You were in Agawam, weren't you? You guys were at some sort of literally thing in Agawam. Albert's McCabe's, all you people were there. Just know that there will be no life as normal is over. Life is normal. You had normal for a while there. From January 29th to about April 2023. You guys literally got away with murder.
But the Commonwealth didn't mention that I was reacting to a video of Chris Albert yelling at a woman in a Free Karen Reed shirt outside of the Waterfall bar. I was pointing out that if Chris continued to behave like this, then people would continue to argue with him, and that the best way to avoid this was to keep a low profile. The Commonwealth intentionally omitted the phrases, quote, that would be my recommendation, unquote, not to go out in public, and quote, I did not direct this person to do this, unquote, from my rant, because they know it changes the context completely. So wild shit happened in like the last couple hours in Canton. So a woman has a turtle rider, I believe her name is Deanna. You guys got to see this. Okay. So she goes to the Waterfall bar today. I don't know if she's from Canton or what, but I'm going to bring this up for you guys if you haven't seen this yet. So there, she posted this and she says, this is Chris Albert, right? We were at the Waterfall. And there he is in the middle of the afternoon at the bar. I don't know if he drove there or not because I don't know if he lost his license when people forget about Chris Albert. Look at that face, look at that face. That is the face of a man who knows he's being photographed. He's pissed. He's not happy about it. Like, I confronted this guy a couple weeks ago. This guy's got his head on a swivel. Everywhere now he's a turtle rider. Where are they? I got bad news for you, Chris. I got really bad news for you. They're literally everywhere. You can't, like, you guys should just stop going out in public. Like, that'd be my recommendation. And it's only gonna get worse from here. I did not direct this person to do this. I can't stop them. They're everywhere. They don't like you. Nobody likes you. You guys killed someone. You literally killed someone. Not you. You didn't do it. You raised someone who did it. And your big bro did it. But like, and you obviously know this and you helped him cover it up. But I guess you didn't kill anyone. So you got that going for you. So good job, Chris. You just raised the killer. Anyway, and we're gonna get to that too. But he's obviously, when I saw him, like, this dude is ready and like looking around. They insist on going out in public. Like, Chris, I know where you guys were today. Y'all were in Agawam, weren't you? I got pictures of you on my cell phone. I got people sending me pictures. You guys were at some sort of Little League thing in Agawam. I got pictures of Courtney Proctor. I got pictures of who was she with there? I forget. There's a whole crew here. Albert's, McCabe's, all you people were there. So like, just know that there will be no, life is normal is over, okay? Life is normal. You had normal for a while there, from January 29th till about April 29th, 2022 till April 2023. You guys literally got away with murder, okay? Life as normal is over is not a threat. It's a statement of fact. When your family is involved in a high-profile murder, obviously your life is no longer going to be the way it used to be.
Chris Albert being confronted outside of a Canton restaurant. We, Chris Albert, and other witnesses. When you act this way, that's like a green light for me. Time to hit the gas.
When you act this way, that's like a green light for me. Time to hit the gas. I was saying that Chris Albert's bizarre drunken confrontation with a woman would only encourage more people to confront him in public.
You're sitting right across the bar. You're sitting right across the bar from me. What did I do? What did I do?
Yeah, what did I do?
What did I do? I take pictures of you.
You took pictures of me? Like, this is what you're doing? You're following someone, a woman, mind you. You're following a woman out to her car and be like, you took pictures of me. Who gives a fuck? You're in public. There's no expectation of privacy. Who cares if somebody took pictures of you? Oh, you took pictures of me? Yeah, so what if I did? Who cares? And you gotta confront her and they cause a scene. These people are so fucking stupid. Like, they just don't know how to keep a low profile. They can't help it. They are unraveling. This is unhinged behavior on the part of Chris Albert. We are getting to them. And like, Chris, the more you act like this in public, this just I'm like, oh, we're getting to him. Oh, that's like a green light for me. Like, ooh, time to hit the gas.
I got pictures of you. You can't leave the fucking country, otherwise we're gonna find you. They're gonna find you. You can't hide anymore. Your private life is officially over. You leave your house, you're gonna have your picture taken, so you need to get used to the new normal. You're new normal. Otherwise, when I take pictures of you, they're gonna send it to me. You're famous. We need to accelerate it. They, the one who recorded the video, Chris Albert confrontation, are doing a fantastic job with this.
Taking pictures of people in public and encouraging people to document Chris Albert's aggressive drunken behavior is not witness intimidation. Himself in this bubble where everyone agrees it's unanimous. Karen Reed did this. But it's just a great reminder. I love when she said, like, everyone in the state knows you did this. And it's true. Like, everyone outside of your bubble, which is really small, and it's getting smaller by the day. It used to be bigger. It used to be kind of like the whole town. That is day by day. So many people in your town are looking at you, Chris, every day. When you go out in public and you go to the grocery store or wherever, people are taking pictures of you. I got a picture of you, Chris, and your wife, Julie, because I know you're watching, Chris. It's about a week or so ago. You went to Twin River Casino, didn't you? I got pictures of you at Twin River Casino. I got pictures of Gemma Cabe in Aruba. You can't leave the fucking country. With like Turtle Riders, we're going to find you. They're going to find you. You can't hide anymore. Your private life is officially over. Over. You leave your house, you're going to have your picture taken everywhere. So you need to get used to your new normal. This is your new normal. Any Turtle Rider sees you in public, they're going to do this. They're going to take pictures of you. They're going to send it to me. You're famous. Everyone knows what you did. And so this is a great reminder to Chris Alberts, because I'm sure he's not used to people challenging him like this. And he's freaking out. We need to accelerate it. I'm not telling you what to do, but DeAnna did a fantastic job with this. Fantastic job. 2 weeks before I was arrested, Chris Albert applied for a harassment prevention order against me and was denied on First Amendment grounds. The same judge who arraigned me on October 11th said my speech towards Chris was protected because it lacked true threats and fighting words. Yet I was charged with felony witness intimidation for the same exact speech that Judge O'Malley said was protected First Amendment speech.
Make your case as to why I should do it.
Sure, Your Honor. I'll make my case. So this all starts from a case that I'm a potential witness in, but not really. I have a very limited role in it. And because I was thrusted into this case, this person decided to start writing blogs about me, all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's one thing to write, about a person, and that's fine because this First Amendment, and I'm a First Amendment guy. But it's another thing to show up at a person's place of work in their establishment where they try to make their livelihood, and go about their day-to-day life without interruption. And then this person comes and harasses them in front of their place of business, harasses their customer, makes outlandish remarks about their pizza shop, telling people that I murder people inside my pizza shop, telling one of my 70-year-old customers walking out, you just bought food from a murderer, shame on you. I have videos to back that up. Coming in not once, but twice, doing the same stuff day in and day out, then calling my cell phone, calling my store phone, then in turn, it's causing his people to pile on and call my store, call my cell phone, make threats against me, make harassment against me. Well, people call up and they'll say stuff like, you're going to hell, you're going to jail.
Chris Albert was convicted for killing Peter Berger in a drunk driving hit and run in 1994 and served 6 months in jail.
And shows up at one of my select board meetings 2 days prior to harassing me at my place of employment, where I try to provide for my family and make a living, and then standing 3 feet behind my ear, sticking out the middle finger to me and getting it within 2 feet of my ear and filming it. I would say that clearly falls under harassment. And at any given moment, he could have reached forward and grabbed me. He didn't, but he could have. Just like what I told everybody. I'm listening, and I'm keeping an open mind. I'm just saying, as I read the affidavit, the case was against you, but I'm keeping an open mind. You say that it's harassment. It is under the Webster Dictionary, harassment. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 258, even the middle finger is speech. He does a speech. Speech is speech, obviously. Anything like that. And the case law is pretty clear. It has to be. I'll quote from a case, and then I'm going to keep beginning. The case is in M versus PR, it's appeals court case decided on November 19th, 2020. And in that particular case, coincidentally, PR told NM that he would suffer in death and burn in hell in addition to other allegations. And what the court said in that case is that where speech is concerned, that all of that is speech, including nonverbal speech. Only fighting words or true threats may qualify as acts of harassment. So I'm giving you this, that's the framework for the harassment of the 258E. That is not what harassment is under Webster Dictionary. Sure. So keep going. Okay, sure. So, well, he continuously harassed me during my meeting and was close to me. And I felt, though, he was a little bit infringing on my private area. Yes. Okay. And then he proceeded to follow me out to my car with the mob that he had with him. I mean, about 20 people. And then he surrounded my car and wouldn't let me leave. And he specifically was making it, round these people up. And they was standing in front of my car, so I could not drive out. And then he was filming me from outside my door. And I feel like he was the reason that I couldn't leave. And they detained me for what felt like forever, but probably around 7 or 8 minutes. Did you call 911? The police were there. What did they do? Then eventually they moved everybody out of the way. But at that moment, I didn't know if they were going to stop punching my car. On the road today.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame. What are you smiling about, Chris? What are you smiling about, Chris? What are you smiling about, Chris? Seriously, what are you smiling? What'd you bring a notepad for? Is democracy dead in Canton? Have you guys banned? Is the First Amendment officially suspended in this town? Chris. Whoa, what's the violence? What's this? Oh, God. Chris Albert is an elected official and didn't tell the judge that he slammed the door on me and laughed the whole time, despite being in quote unquote fear. When are you going to resign from the board of selectmen, Chris?
We have it on tape. We have it on tape, Chris. We have it on tape. Chris, we have it on tape, you murderer.
Don't you think you should resign, Chris? Isn't it kind of ironic that you're on the traffic subcommittee, but you killed him in? Isn't that just a little bit ironic, Chris? Chris, what time did your son Colin leave 34 Fairview Road on the morning of January 29, 2022? Who picked him up? Who called Alan McCabe to pick up Colin that night, Chris? Who called Alan McCabe to pick up Colin? Was it you? Whose Ford Edge was that parked at Lucky Lock until 3 in the morning, Chris?
What? I know all about you.
Chris. Okay, do you have a license, Chris? You get to keep your license after killing a man?
You know what, you got it.
Do you? You need an escort, Chris? I'm not going to hurt you, Chris. I just want to ask you a few questions. Come on. Chris, are you at all worried about your son going to jail? Are you? What about your brother? Are you worried about Brian going to jail for killing Boston police officer John O'Keefe for their role in murdering Boston police officer John O'Keefe? You think that's funny, Chris? Chris, how do you afford a car if you owe $60,000 in taxes? How'd you pay for this car, Chris? What's that? With money, with that, with money. I mean, what's confusing about that, Chris? You did kill the man, right?
You gonna kill me?
There we go. Shameful man right there. Chris Albert. To commit witness intimidation, you must attempt to impede, obstruct, or interfere with a trial. Brian Tully told the grand jury that my speech was witness intimidation because I said, quote, I don't want this to go to trial.
So 604, entitled Colin Albert drops out of school, Brian Higgins slipping, is the end near. I said from the beginning, I don't want this to go to trial. That is this defendant's words himself. I don't want this to go to trial, referencing the Karen Reed case.
But the Commonwealth intentionally left out that I was speaking in favor of a motion to dismiss. I clearly stated that I would love for this to go to trial because it would be entertaining, but that I thought the ethical and moral thing to do was to dismiss the case. I said from the beginning that I do not want this to go to trial. Not that I fear her getting found guilty or anything like that, but just that's a sham. Like it should never go. Like, it should be dropped. If there's any justice in the world, these charges should be dropped, and the people that actually did this should be charged for it. But at the same time, like how long can this go on for? Like, and how much stress does this take on a human being? Like this has to be putting years on Karen Reed, like mentally. So for her sake, it's like, wouldn't the best thing for her be to just get this over with? Like, let's fucking dance. Let's dance. Like if you were her, like don't like let's go. Let's fucking do it. Like I understand not wanting to, and this is my position from the beginning, because I thought about being in this position before, and just the roller coaster that must be happening in your stomach in those few hours where you're sitting there waiting for a jury verdict to come back. Like, and you see, like when Kyle Rittenhouse was exonerated, like it was authentic. He broke down crying. Like it was crazy. Like it's just like so much can change in one word. And either with not, with the word not is in there, isn't in there, your whole life is over. Like it's like imagine that life in prison, or you go on to become a very wealthy person, and that's what she will be after this, a very wealthy person, and deservedly so. Book deals and got movie rights, and God knows what you're out of this, or life in prison. Now there's like a 99.99% chance it would be the first one, not like in prison. But would you want that? Like, would you get on a plane if you thought there was a 1% chance that plane would crash? Would you want to get on that plane? Wouldn't you rather just like, I'll just fucking drive? But then driving's expensive, and you're stuck in traffic, and you're like, fuck it, I'm jumping on a plane. This isn't worth it. And that's kind of the position that I think she's in. And like, it's selfish on my part and on all of our part, I think. But we would love to see a trial. Like, obviously, that would be great for us. Like, it would be wild, and it would be so entertaining, and we could watch Alan Jackson just freaking eviscerate. Oh, can you just, like, I get hard thinking about it, man. About thinking about what Alan Jackson and David Giannetti and Les Little will do to Michael Proctor on the stand, or Jennifer McCabe. I get turned on thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. But I think I also think about Karen Reed's father and her mother and her brother and what they're going through, and like it's not as fun for them. And so like they would obviously much rather just see this get dropped. But like I don't know if that's gonna happen. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, let's just fucking get in a room and like let's just do it. Let's get this over with. Let's go. And whoever wins wins. And we know who's gonna win. You are not going to find 12 people that are going to believe, yeah, she fucking did that. The Commonwealth claims I harassed and intimidated Michael Proctor by calling him during a show, saying his phone number out loud, and leaving him a voicemail.
On June 13th, 2023, Karen broadcast a live YouTube video, episode 590, which is currently posted on his YouTube page. During the broadcast, Karen displayed phone records of Jennifer McCabe from the day O'Keefe was killed. The records displayed names to the phone number, displayed names next to the phone number, which appeared to be the user of the other phone. These records had previously been attachment to an unredacted defense motion filed in Commonwealth versus Reed. During the video broadcast, Karen cold calls the phone numbers without names associated. In this process, he called the work cell phone of Trooper Proctor. Trooper Proctor stated the phone number that made the call was 413-262-690. Commit the last two numbers, Judge. Karen left the following voicemail. Hi, Trooper Proctor. This is award-winning journalist. This is award-winning journalist, Aidan Karen, calling. I'm calling to talk to you. I do have some questions about you. I have a lot of questions, actually. For starters, why didn't you tell me one before doing the investigation that you were good friends with the Albert family? Why did you, in the report, say that you introduced Chris Albert?
Amen, Anthony. Amen. Welcome, by the way. Yeah, Turtle Boy's right. Turtle Boy will always be right.
February 10th, when you have known him for more than a decade prior to that. Why did you lie about that? About what time you told Karen Reed's car? Why did you intentionally spell the names of several key witnesses in your report? And you know, I'm just wondering about all those things, and maybe you like me for coffee. What do I have a lot of questions for you? Where were you inside Fairview Drive that night, or that morning rather? Why did you stay there for 4.5 hours? And what did you guys talk about to do it? Why were you standing stairs with John O'Keefe's foreign body? So give me a call back, man. We feel like you and I have a lot to talk about, catching up to. I talk about you a lot. I feel like I know you pretty well at this point. I know what you graduated from the academy. I know you were out in West Brookfield for a while. I know some people that you know, so give me a call back when you get this. Now that I have your number, everybody watching also has your phone number, which again is 781 and remain the number. So I'd like to know. She called you again. You called her 1249. We're going to get to that. So now I have your number. I'm going to plug you in and we'll talk soon. Essentially, broadcasting troopers, number 2 is turtle followers, if you will. Seemingly, we intend to have them also harassed.
But the video shows that I had no idea it was Proctor's number, which was from a public court filing, and that I asked him questions about his notoriously bad investigation like any journalist would. In the house. So I guess you know what we need to do. Let's give this person a call, find out who the hell this is. They're not in her phone. Your guess is as good as mine. It's Proctor. It's Proctor. It's fucking Proctor.
Please record your message. When you finish recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Trooper Proctor. This is award-winning journalist Aidan calling. I'm calling to talk to you. I do have some questions about you. I have a lot of questions, actually. For starters, why didn't you tell anyone before doing the investigation that you were good friends with the Albert family? Why did you, in your report, say that you were introduced to Chris Albert on February 10th when you had known him for more than a decade prior to that? Why did you lie about what time you took care of his car? Why did you intentionally misspell the names of several key witnesses in your report? And, I'm just wondering about all of those things. And maybe you and I can meet up for coffee. Boy, do I have a lot of questions for you. When you were inside Fairview Road that night, that morning rather, why did you stay there for 4.5 hours? And what did you guys talk about and do? And why were you descending stairs with John O'Keefe's phone in your pocket? So give me a call back, man. I feel like you and I have a lot of catching up to do. I talk about you a lot. I feel like I know you pretty well at this point. I know which year you graduated from the academy. I know you were out in West Brookfield for a while. I know some people that you know. So give me a call back when you get this. Now that I have your number, and everybody watching also has your phone number, which again is 781-364-0165. So I'd like to know, she called you again. You called her at 12:49. We're going to get to that. So now that I have your number, I'm going to plug you in, and we'll talk soon. Bye. The Commonwealth claims I intimidated Proctor's wife, Elizabeth, by encouraging people to leave negative reviews on her employer's Facebook page.
Again, further rights. I believe the two people who deserve to lose their jobs over this alleged conspiracy about Karen Reedville, Michael Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor. These two lowlights think they're untouchable. They're nothing but bullies who terrorize people for years, but now they met their match, meaning the defendant. In the post hearing states, Elizabeth works as a human resource manager, and I'll omit the place of employment, and posts the main number for the company. The post then says, but they're probably not going to reach anyone that way, so feel free to leave a review on their wide-open Facebook page or their Twitter account. On May 10, 2023, Kenny broadcast a live YouTube video, episode 580, which is currently posted on his YouTube page. During broadcast, at the 1 minute, 6 second mark, Kenny talks about Elizabeth. He states he was going to call her. He repeated his cell phone on the broadcast, a cell phone number on the broadcast, as he was entering the number to a cell phone. Using the speakerphone option on a cell phone, Kenny broadcast the phone call. The phone call went to voicemail. Elizabeth stated the call came from 413-262-69 on the last two. Kenny left the following message. Hi, Elizabeth. This is Aidan Kim calling you back from Turtle Boy. We briefly spoke yesterday on the phone. I introduced myself to you and then you hung up on me. I'll maybe there was a bad connection, but I just wanted to see how your day at work went today. If it went well. I noticed that your employer took down their social media pages within 5 minutes of the blog I published about your recent behavior. And I just wanted to see what is it awkward? Were you afraid to go in? Just tell me about your day and why, because that's the part I don't understand.
So, sorry, and I agree with you. Allegedly, we have to say allegedly because they've never been charged with a crime.
All right.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, Rebecca Lavoie today on Something's Off brought up something really interesting, and that is that
she's over at Mom's.
What if Julie Albert, with that whole donut story, what if she was actually going over there to pick Colin up because Colin was still there? But instead of, telling the truth and saying, oh, Colin was still there, she made up this stupid story about putting donuts in a car in the middle of a blizzard where they would just freeze. Coffee and donuts in a car, which made absolutely no sense.
No.
Right. And I agree, it was covered up, Anthony, but guilty or innocent until proven guilty is all I'm saying.
Is that you seem to be okay with calling other people's workplaces and interfering with their ability to make a living for themselves. But when it happens to you, maybe it's not as fun, maybe it's not as fun. Do you like that? That's what I want to know. Do you like that? Because you've been doing that to a lot of other people. And do you think it's fair that it happened to you, dear? Do you regret it? Do you regret it? And what's your scumbag husband up to now? Are you going to visit him in prison? Do you think he'll have conjugal visits? Please give me a call back when you get this, and we can chat some more. Bye, girl. Following the phone call at the 1 week mark, Kenny accessed the social media accounts of the company that Elizabeth worked for, and laughed as he stated pages were taken down and stated the Turtle Boy effect. Oh God. Both Mike and Elizabeth Proctor stated they felt harassed by the acts of Karen.
They intentionally omitted. This was in reaction to Liz Proctor calling the workplaces of people who criticized her husband on Facebook to try to have them fired.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. At the tone, please record your message. When you are finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Elizabeth. This is Aidan calling you back from Turtle Boy. We briefly spoke yesterday on the phone. I introduced myself to you, and then you hung up on me, or maybe it was a bad connection. But I just wanted to see how your day at work went today, if it went well. I noticed that your employer took down their social media pages within minutes of the blog I published about your recent behavior. And I just want to see, is it awkward? Were you afraid to go in? Just tell me about your day. Why? Because that's the part I don't understand, is that you seem to be okay with calling other people's workplaces and interfering with their ability to make a living for themselves. But when it happens to you, maybe it's not as fun. Maybe it's not as fun. Do you like that? I mean, that's what I want to know. Did you like that? Because you've been doing that to a lot of other people, and do you think it's fair that it happened to you, dear? Do you regret it? That's not, do you regret it? And what's your scumbag husband up to right now? Are you going to visit him in prison? Do you think they'll have conjugal visits? Give me a call back when you get this, and we can chat some more. Bye, girl. So she didn't answer. See if she calls back. So this woman is just a piece of work, and like I said, she worked at least a company in Norwood, in human resources, which is just too ironic for a company called Instron. And let's see, is their Facebook page down? Let's see. It's gone. It's fucking gone. That was quick. That's gone. You can't reply on the Twitter. Or did they take the whole Twitter down? The tweets are protected. The Turtle Boy effect. Oh God. Is this picture of Elizabeth Proctor still up? Is that still up? It's still there. Oh, it's still up. You just can't comment on it. You just can't comment on it. Okay. That's a shame. On August 25th, 2023, DA Mike Morrissey issued a press release claiming that Michael Proctor had no personal relationships with any of the witnesses.
Trooper Proctor was not there and did not plant evidence at 34 Fairview Road. In addition to having no opportunity to plant the evidence, as has been suggested, Proctor would have no motive to do so. Trooper Proctor had no close personal relationship with any of the parties involved in the investigation and had no conflict. And he had no reason to step out of this investigation. Every suggestion to the contrary is a lie.
1 month later, on September 25th, Jennifer McCabe's car was seen parked in the Proctor's driveway. I knew that was Jennifer McCabe's Jeep, but wanted to double check for journalistic purposes. So I made a post asking for someone to run a license plate for me, something I have done dozens of times over the years to identify scumbags. Several people reached out and offered to run the plate. All of them came back with one name, McCabe. This proved that Morrissey lied in his press release about the Proctors not having personal relationships with any witnesses and was a major news story. But Proctor and the state police called this act of journalism conspiracy to commit witness intimidation and indicted me and one of the many people who ran the plate.
On September 25th, 2023, at 8:04 p.m., an ex account formerly Twitter associated with Karen posted this message of photograph. The poster depicts the front of 6 Wentworth Road in Canton, home of Michael and Elizabeth Proctor. The white Jeep Wrangler in the photo belongs to Jennifer McCabe. And there are photographs that are appended to this report I'm reading from, Judge. The following day, Karen broadcast a YouTube video, episode 617. At the 19-minute mark, Karen stated that he ran the plates of the vehicle depicted in the photograph. Karen showed photographs of 3 vehicles parked at the address. He showed photographs of each vehicle and stated the registered owners of the vehicles by name, Michael Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor. The term ran in regard to motor vehicle registration is commonly used in law enforcement. The term means the information was queried through law enforcement database for the purpose of obtaining information. Karen used the information in a blog entitled Ken Cover Part 161. Jennifer McCabe was seen at Proctor's house at 6 p.m. tonight despite allegedly not knowing him personally. I would parenthetically state, Judge, that it was later determined from investigation by state police that a dispatcher in the local police department made contact with Karen and unlawfully and illegally accessed.
A journalist reporting with evidence that the DA lied isn't witness intimidation. To be guilty of witness intimidation, a person must attempt to interfere with a trial. The Commonwealth claims that I did this by saying that I liked the Free Karen Reed billboard on Route 1 in Foxborough.
On September 18, 2023, King posted a blog entitled Can't Cover Part 142. Free Karen Reed billboard goes up on Route 1 outside the West Stadium in Foxborough. More following on his website. The topic of the blog post was about billboard.
I had nothing to do with the billboard, but they claim that saying that I liked it was an admittance that I'm attempting to paint a jury.
Although millions of people know about the injustice that has happened in Norfolk County, I would bet over half the population of Norfolk County has never heard of Karen Reed before. That will change because of this 3-pronged billboard blitz. It's really time for people in Norfolk County to know about this story because that's where the jury pool will be chosen from. Essentially, Judge, an admission that he's seeking to taint the jury pool.
Felony witness intimidation charges and 4 counts of picketing a witness came from the July 22nd, 2023 rolling rally in Canton. During the rolling rally, I led a group of around 100 people and peacefully protested outside of the homes of Brian Albert, the Proctors, the McCabes, Julie Nagel, and the Canton Police Department. Outside each residence, I gave a 5 to 7 minute speech explaining their role in the cover-up of John O'Keefe's murder. Crowds did the same thing outside the homes of Aaron Hernandez, Brian Laundrie, Scott Peterson, Derek Chauvin, and many others who protesters believed were guilty of murder before they were ever charged. This is how peaceful protesters at the rolling rally viewed the Proctors and McAlberts, as people who evidence shows were involved in a murder.
On Saturday, July 22nd, at approximately 1200 hours, Karen departed Shaw's 134 Nathan Street in Norwood, accompanied by a number of motor vehicles for something publicized as a rolling road rally. Karen began a YouTube Live video. The YouTube Live allows users to broadcast live videos on the YouTube platform, which will later save and distribute on a user's account. At the beginning of the video, Karen is operating a motor vehicle and stated at least 100 to 200 people are in the caravan of vehicles. He further stated that he did not broadcast locations of the protest prior to the departure of the rolling rally.
I announced that we were coming ahead of time. I filmed the entire event. Not a single person stepped foot on anyone's property, and the entire day was peaceful. Police call logs show 0 calls to police to report any criminal behavior. Brian Albert wasn't home.
We're going to be talking about what the hell's going on. So we're here to peacefully protest. So this is the home somewhere here. Hey, what's happening? So we are peacefully protesting outside of the home of Brian Albert. We don't know if he's home right now. I don't see his cars here.
But the former Marine, trained boxer, and fugitive unit BPD sergeant told the grand jury that I made him feel intimidated and that I was saying things of a harassing nature. He told the grand jury that I exhorted him to tell the truth in an attempt to influence his testimony. As seen in the video, I never once told him to tell the truth. I just explained his involvement in the murder of John O'Keefe.
This is the home of Brian Albert. Brian Albert is a Boston police sergeant who lived in Canton and comes from a very well-connected family. On the day of January 28, 2022, Brian Albert went to New York City with his friend Brian Higgins, ironically, to go to a funeral for a New York police officer. They doing some drinking. They came back that night, and then they went out. They went to a bar called the Waterfall Bar, where they met up with another Boston police officer named John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe was dropped off at their house afterwards after being invited there by a woman named Karen Reed, his girlfriend. She told him, text me when you get inside, but he never did. She waited about 10 minutes, figured things were fine, and left. But things were not fine. While she was literally waiting outside their house on Fairview Road, he was beaten to death. He was being beaten to death inside, or nearly to death, being unconscious. And then instead of calling 911, they plotted immediately within minutes to throw him out like he was trash. Around our estimates, around 3:30 to 4 o'clock, they decided to move his body outside. After already putting his cell phone outside at around 12:30, they threw his body right on top of it so that he would die of exposure, and he did. He finally was pronounced dead slightly before 8 a.m.
What he was saying, like, about the McAlbert's like involvement in John's death is all a part of the evidence. Like, his main source for all of the shit that he said was Karen Reed. If anybody knows the case more than Karen Reed does, it's Aidan. I'm being mocked over here by my son and my husband, by the way. Anyway, back to this.
And the cover up began. They got away with it for quite some time. He lived in Canton like nothing happened. Hey! But things began to get not so comfortable for Brian Albert in October when he was officially listed in court documents as a suspect, as a likely suspect, in an affidavit written by, I believe it was Aidan, Cameron's new attorney. After that, he decided it was time to get the hell out of Canton. They did their floor for the second time in 4 years. They got rid of their floor, probably because it was covered in John's DNA and blood. And then they got rid of their family dog. We still don't know where Chloe is today, if she's dead, if she's alive. All we know is that she bit John's arm, quite obviously, and John is now deceased. After that, we went to the Proctor's house. Michael Proctor told the grand jury that because of me, protesters spit on his driveway and parked on his lawn. But video footage shows this never happened. He put a turtle crossing sign in his yard to mock us, and I instructed protesters not to step foot on his property while noting the private property sign. After that, it was 5 minutes of explaining Proctor's role in the cover-up. There were no threats, and there were no demands that he change his testimony. This is the home of conflicted state trooper Michael Proctor. It appears as if he still, you notice he's got a turtle crossing thing there. He put that up. Some people thought that a turtle rider put that up, but we're not told that he put that up. And that's kind of speaks to how arrogant he is, that he's almost like mocking us. They do have a private property sign now, which is smart because I knocked his door a couple weeks ago, and he's a state trooper, so he knows that if he puts that up, then we cannot step on his property, which is fine. It also appears as if they're taking down the thin blue line flag, which is good because Michael Proctor doesn't care about murdered police officers who sacrificed their lives, and because he covered one up. No, he pretends to because he arrested and charged a woman that not only is factually innocent, but that he knows is factually innocent, and he had no problem framing an innocent woman, a woman he knew to be innocent, which is why he went to Dayton at 2:30 in the afternoon, because we know from the call logs he called the Dayton Police Department and asked them to bring a tow, to have a car tow. He said he wasn't even there yet. He said he didn't get there until 4:30, except we have ring camera footage, which they now claim didn't reset because of daylight savings 3 months after daylight savings happened. And the alarm.com footage shows the camera car was towed at 4:12 p.m., which left conflicted Detective Trooper Michael Proctor with 1 hour and 18 minutes unobstructed with the car. He could do whatever he wanted with it. Instead of bringing it to a state police barracks, which would be the normal thing to do, since the state police were in charge of the investigation, he brought it back to Canton Police Department so they could be closer to the scene of the crime, so we could pull a little Shawshank Redemption and do a sprinkle of the taillight right where the body was found, and somehow made a fool of the Canton Police Department, who somehow missed all that, and they're okay with that. They're not upset that, oh yeah, this guy's calling you stupid and incompetent, but I guess you'll have to take that one on the chin, because you wouldn't want to upset Michael Proctor, would you? So this is Michael Proctor's house. He's a disgrace to police officers everywhere. He covers up for murderers, and he tries to send people who he knows to be into jail. We need to get rid of cops like him and have more good cops like John O'Keefe. After that, we went to Jennifer and Matt McCabe's house. I thought that they were away on vacation in Maine. Jen had told the grand jury that she feared for her life and didn't know what the peaceful crowd was doing outside. She never called police, and there were no threats or demands to change her testimony. She's got a no trespassing sign, 2 of them. I want to be very clear about that. We know that they are at a Gunquit beach right now. Look, they got a ring camera. Hey guys, hey Jen, what's going on? We're here. I know you're getting alerts on your phone in the Gunquit, Maine. We got people out there too. So no justice, no peace. Hopefully you're not fearing still. And please try to lay out the sauce when you sexually harass me, Jen, with various pictures of half-naked men. That's kind of weird when you did that. So all right, so people are starting to stream on in here. Oh, here they come. We got a crew coming out here. Okay. So let people roll. Some people just walk. The Proctor house was like literally a quarter mile from the McCabe house. Something went terribly wrong by 12:29 within minutes. Jennifer McCabe was not even thinking about calling 911. Her first instinct was to cover this up. She called his phone and answered it, knowing that he was unconscious, to make it look like he was still alive. She then texted and called him 6 times between 12:40 and 12:50 a.m. to make it seem like, oh, you're calling John, I'm really worried about you, but she knew exactly where John was. John was bleeding out in the basement. His life could have been saved. She made a conscious choice not to save it. She made a conscious choice not to save his life when she could have. And then she left, gave 2 people a ride home, including one person who lives close to John, so she could go by his house and see if Karen Reed was still awake. And then she got home and started going to bed after a night full of drinking. She decided to Google how long to die in coke, which is a really freaking weird thing to Google. Protesting someone who you believe is involved in a murder is not illegal simply because they are a quote-unquote witness. At 2:27 a.m. She then stayed up all night, despite being drunk all night. She was up at 4:53 a.m. when Karen Reed finally called her. And literally, she was watching the minutes tick by. Every minute that went by, she felt more and more confident that she was going to get away with it, because it was more and more likely that John would die and not wake up and tell the world what they did to him. Then she filled Karen Reed's mind with poison and lies on the way over, pretending to be her friend, and then told Michael Proctor a bunch of lies. When she spoke with police at Brian Albert's house, she told him something, but apparently wasn't enough, because she had to call back her good friend Mother Light. She also went to Lank's house the next day and hid this for 3 years. Just remembered at 9 a.m. He comes back, takes a statement. They hang out there for a couple more hours, and then decide to get in the cars during the middle of a blizzard and come over here for the friends and family meeting with Michael Proctor. They're all interviewed together. No protocols were followed. No questions were asked. And as a result, Karen Reed was charged with the murder of John O'Keefe shortly after that. So I just want all John McCabe's neighbors to know, in case they don't already know, the people that live right here at 12. They're cop killers. These are cop killers, folks. These are cop killers that live here. They could have saved. It is not witness intimidation to have the opinion that someone is a cop killer and say that into a megaphone. You certainly don't get to frame innocent people who did nothing wrong to you and send them to jail for the rest of their life, simply because you don't want to take responsibility for what your brother-in-law / side piece did. Next was Julie Nagel's house. Julie testified that she saw a 6-foot black blob on Brian Albert's lawn.
Yeah, the other thing about those scratches and Jabin. The other thing about the scratches and stuff on John's arm is the fact that there are only 9 holes in his sleeve of his sweatshirt. 9 holes, and yet 30 some odd injuries. So they never explained that. They never explained how all those pieces of taillight could get through 9 holes.
on, but didn't alert anyone or tell police about it for 9 months. I urged Julie Nagel to tell the truth. Urging people to tell the truth is not witness intimidation. She might not have been the one that orchestrated the cover-up, but at any point, Julie Nagel, you can come out. At any point, Julie, nothing is stopping you from telling the truth, from saving yourself. You know what happened that night. You know why Don's body was on that lawn. You know why he had that huge laceration in the back of his head. You know that he was bleeding out. I'm sure it was traumatic to be in that house.
Juliana Nagel, 25 years old, lives all-mirror address in Kenton with her 2 parents and 2 siblings. Juliana was home with her mother at the time of the protest. Juliana and her brother were present at 34 Fairview Road and had been interviewed by investigators and clearly arrived at 79 Highland Street. He identified the residence as a home, came and made a statement to get the attention of their neighbors. He described how O'Keefe was beaten to death at a house where Juliana was present. He said at any point, Julie Nagel, you can come out at any point. Nothing is stopping you from telling the truth. You know what happened that night. He continued to state, you can't get away with it anymore. Too many people know you're going down with them. Nothing is stopping you from coming forward and telling the police what happened. Kearney claims Nagel lied to investigators about her observations. Nagel O'Keefe was filmed and is complicit in the cover-up of a murder. Kearney stated, you might as well tell the truth and let the world know what happened. Neighbors, maybe you guys can help us pressure them into this. Julie Nagel was involved with, was at the murder of a Boston police officer. She knows what happened. She is actively involved in the cover-up. She should not be able to walk around town like none of this happened while this woman named Karen Reed suffered the consequences of her silence and her complicity. The truth will set you free. Kearney is in front of residents for approximately 10 minutes. At the conclusion of the speech, he stated the next location is the home of Canton Police Department Deputy Chief Thomas Kelleher. While driving the next location, Kearney stated Julie Nagel's house was a good one. They were home. And clearly, when the statements he made there just about as far as he can go to intimidating a witness.
I get the moral conundrum that you have there. It's very hard. But you can't get away with it anymore. Too many people know they're going to go down. The question is, are you going to go down with them? Nothing is stopping you from coming forward and telling the police what happened. We know that you did not even talk to conflicted State Trooper Michael Proctor until 11 months after the murder. You talked to him in January of 2023 for the first time. You and Sarah Levitin were interviewed. And you were the only person that they spoke with who said that they saw anything on the lawn. You said in the police report that you saw something dark and shadowy on the lawn. You were very vague on purpose because you know that if all of you said nothing was on the lawn, that wouldn't make any sense. So you had to say, oh, maybe I did see something. Maybe there was something there. We know it. And that is not just you. You're the second you made that statement, and the second you made up that lie, and that's what it was a lie. The second you made up that lie, you became much more complicit in the cover-up of the murder. And she's actively involved in the cover-up. She's not able to walk around town like none of this happened. While an innocent woman named Karen Reed, a very nice woman named Karen Reed, suffered the consequences of her silence and her complicity. So, this is not an angry mob.
I just want to give this to you and thank you.
Oh, thank you. Very nice of you. Thank
My
you.
boyfriend and I watch you all the time and we love you and you are just fucking hero.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind of you guys. Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you. I appreciate that. On May 30th, Jennifer McCabe tried to get an order on me and was denied on First Amendment grounds. Judge Walsh denied the order because my speech did not contain true threats or fighting words.
He has started about April 14th, 18th. He's nonstop. He writes blogs every day, and every day he tries to humiliate me, harass me. Most recently, he chased me out of a court hearing and prevented me from walking. Had a big camera. He was harassing me, intimidating me. I was fearing. I didn't know what he was going to do next. He chased me to my car. He was calling me a cop killer. Yes, he followed me out of the court and down the street. Yes, I actually have a thumb drive with a lot of this for you to be able to see. But he videoed the whole thing, and then he showed it on all his social media platforms. And then he proceeded to, post, this is a cop killer. He's a cop murderer. And then on that post that he did, he said that he wasn't going to stop. He was going to harass me every day. He was going to go to my children's events.
Has he done that?
No, he has not done that yet. He has emailed. I have 2 daughters in college, and he's emailed the school. Well, I don't know. Someone has emailed the schools, and they've attached his blog. So he has a significant amount of followers, and he does his live shows. And I have received terrible threats from phone calls. I get voicemails. I get Facebook messengers from his followers.
Just okay, not necessarily from him.
He called me once.
And that call was
it was a voicemail. No, he just said questions.
All right, just I just want to make sure we're talking about the same.
Yeah.
So you may have gotten some other things from maybe people who follow him,
yes,
but not him.
Correct.
Okay,
but as of today, he again posted that he was going to make my life hell. He wasn't going to stop. He would come to he's constantly saying he's going to come to events. He's calling me horrific names. He made T-shirts to humiliate me and my parents, and he's selling them for profit. I literally wake up every single day, and I don't know what he's going to write. He parked outside my house, and he did a live feed, and he threatens that he would be coming back. My kids are having panic and anxiety attacks.
From your street, not on your property, but
on the street. He's given my address, my husband's social security. It's just nonstop. My kids are seeing everything all over social media. They're having panic attacks at school, and I have to come to them up.
Right. Is there anything else you want me to consider?
Is there any way that you can do something so he can't blog about me?
Probably not the message you will be here.
No,
but so that's kind of where my ruling is heading, based on everything you told me. And I know it could be upsetting to you and your family, but I have to be honest, I'm not inclined to issue the order for that reason. If there's anything else that you want me to look at or consider, I'm happy to do it. If you've kind of given me the flavor of what this has been like, I do appreciate it. Went to great lengths to very, very detailed affidavit. But I would need to find by a preponderance of the evidence a substantial likelihood of immediate danger of abuse as defined by the law. Because of the free speech issues of his status in the press, I'm just not getting it.
Okay, so him chasing me out of court and intimidating me.
Yeah, that's why I kind of asked you that question. I know there was probably a fawn of other press people in the court.
He came down the street, walked in front of me, was saying terrible, nasty things, and walked behind me and followed me to my car. I mean, it was a good distance. I couldn't even make it across the street because he was in front of me. He was bumping into my husband. Then we're getting into our car, and he's yelling, "Cop killer, cop killer!" I don't know if he's going to come over to my car. I don't know what this man's going to do. He seems to be getting more and more agitated every day and saying he's going to do things. Then I see live video outside my house and telling me he'll be back.
But what I will say to that is, I'm not wishing that this escalates in any way, shape, or form. But just because an event today comes before the court rules one way, doesn't mean that if there's a change in circumstances, we can't come back and ask the court to consider in the future. I'm just not hearing enough of what I need to hear on the law for me to be asking today. Okay, I hope I explained that well to you.
And the thumb drive that I prepared.
Yeah, tell me, is it things that one would see on his news or his page?
Yes.
Things of that nature, kind of like you described in your affidavit. I'm happy to have that be part of the record. I think I get the flavor again of what you're telling me. And again, his association as a member of the press really doesn't change sort of where I'm going with my ruling. But I'm certainly happy to include that as part of the record if you want.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So that will conclude the hearing. I'm going to decline your...
The incident, most cited in the grand jury, was a June 5th lacrosse game where Canton was playing at Bill Ricca. I knew Jennifer McCabe would be there.
and I wanted to ask her why she Googled how long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m. When I attempted to ask her questions, I was pushed by Matt McCabe. Jen told the grand jury that she told me she didn't want to answer any questions. The video shows that she laughed at me and wasn't the least bit intimidated by my presence. Like the rest of the witnesses, Jen does not claim that I physically threatened her. Instead, she says she experienced emotional harm. Massachusetts is the only state where the witness intimidation statute includes a provision for emotional harm. Using the excuse of emotional harm, which can't be measured or proven, is just a way for the Commonwealth to outlaw uncomfortable speech. It's blatantly unconstitutional. As soon as I arrived at the game, Matt McCabe asked me, "Hey, tough guy, how you been?" He then mocked me for being shorter than him. This is not the behavior of someone experiencing any sort of harm, fear, or intimidation.
Hey, Matt, how you doing, pal? Good, how are you doing? How you doing? Hey, John, how you doing? Fancy seeing you here. How are you? So how'd it work out the other day?
Sorry, do you have a child on the team?
Do you?
I do.
No, I'm at public events. I can do whatever I want. So anyway, so John, I have a question. Did you think that you could outsmart Karen Reed? Did you? You think that's funny? You think that's funny? How long could I hold? What is this gentleman doing? Look at that. Hey, Jen, are you worried about what's going to happen to your family when you go to jail?
Don't touch me.
Why are you shaking?
Touch me again.
Why are you shaking?
Touch me
So,
again.
Jen, are you worried about what's going to happen when you kids go to jail?
Touch me again.
When you go to jail, I apologize. To your children. Are you worried about that? Huh? What's going on here? What are you doing? Jen, did you think that you could outsmart Karen Reed? Yes or no? Did you? Why did you Google how long to die in cold, Jen? Why did you Google how long to die in cold, Jen? Why did you Google how long to die in cold, Jen? Do you have any answer for that? Do you have any answer for that? Ms. McCabe, do you have any questions for that? Why should I leave, sir? I just have some questions. I just want to know why she Googled how long to die in cold. I just want to know why she Googled how long to die in cold. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I'm being assaulted by an umbrella man. What is going on here? What is happening right now? What is happening? What is happening? This is what? Why do we have to put? We can have our phone in public. We're just trying to watch a lacrosse game, sir. Yes, it is. How do you feel about murder? Police officers. How do you feel about murder? Police officers. Okay. Well, she murdered a police officer. Oh, it's nothing. Why did you Google how long to die in cold? Oh, really? How's it been proven wrong? How long? How's it been? I didn't hear anything. So how is it proven wrong, Matt? How is it proven wrong, sir? So are you saying the forensic expert Richard Green is wrong? Are you saying that forensic expert Richard Green is wrong? Is that what you're saying right now, sir? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I'm just curious. Oh boy, here we go. I'm about 5'8" and 3/4. How much do you weigh? You're very thin. You look sharp today in court. You look great. You look great. No, but seriously, how long? Why did you? Yeah, I'm watching the game. But hang out with my friends. Please don't touch me, sir. Please don't touch me. So I'm here watching the game. Actually, I'm a staff here. Okay. You need to step away. Step away from what? From the stands, and you can take off. Well, this is a public event, right? It is. And I paid to come in.
You shouldn't be harassing people.
I'm not harassing. I'm here to watch a lacrosse game. I just like to watch lacrosse in general. Bill Rick against Canton. I mean, why do you guys? I mean, I just want to watch the game. What's wrong with the game? What's wrong with watching the game? It's Canton against. I believe it's called lacrosse. Right? What? Why should I leave? It's a public. Well, it's a public event. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm just sitting here watching the game. Okay, so are you like what law am I breaking right now?
You're from my facility. We're asking you to leave.
Okay, what's the problem? Okay, so I'm watching the game. What rule have I broken?
You're filming young girls.
Yeah, I'm filming young girls. It's a lacrosse game. A lot of people are filming girls. It's a lacrosse game. What is your problem? Are you saying you can't film lacrosse? Is that what you're saying? What's up? Because it's a free country. I'll film whatever I want. Because it's a free country. Okay, we'll give it a wrap. But I just thought I'd stop by and have a great night. We'll see you soon, Jen. How long to die in cold? Maybe you can answer that question for me. We'll find out later. Bye. So she didn't want to answer. She didn't want to answer. I just want to find out how long to die in cold and why someone would Google that at 2:27 in the morning when a cop is dying on the front yard of 34 Fairview Road. And why two cop killers are up there. Cop killers. That's what they are. They're cop killers. So two cop killers don't like being asked about it. We published videos of Colin Albert threatening to beat and possibly shoot a group of rival teenagers called the Advantage Boys.
You're a bitch, bro. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you, pussy. Yeah. Clean cold, boy. You be knocked out. KO. Bang, bang.
Yo, your Advantage boys. I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will fuck you all up. Pull up, bitch.
I called Colin on the show and left him a voicemail in which I did an impression of his videos before asking him serious questions. Yo, Colin, it's Turtle Boy from them Advantage Boys. Bang, 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 bang. Yo, we'll fuck any of you dogs up. Yo, you challenge my boys and Advantage Boys to a fight, dog. And we about that life, son. We about that life. Yo, we from Sharon, son. Yo, your Cannon bitches ain't hard, yo. Us Sharon bitches, us Advantage Boys. Nobody be fucking with us and shit, dog. So, yo, call me back. No, but seriously, it's impression for what we're doing. I just want to know, were you the one who killed John O'Keefe, or was that your Uncle Brian? Who hit him first? Who hit him with the back of the head with the thing? Are you worried that you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life? And then you won't be able to play football at Bridgewater State next year? I'd love to have a conversation with you. Your dad kicked me out of your pizza shop, and I didn't get to eat his mediocre chicken parm. So I just want to know if you could talk to me about that, and maybe you could tell, maybe you and I could go for a ride. We could find them Advantage Boys. Bang, bang. I don't know. So give me a call when you get this. Bye. Let's see if it goes back on. It was obvious satire and obviously not witness intimidation. The Commonwealth knows it was satire, but they intentionally did not tell the grand jury it was satire or mention the videos I was mocking. This is how it was presented in court.
And you think a journalist can call up a witness and say, it's Turtle Boy from them Advantage Boys. Bang, 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 bang. We'll fuck any of you dogs up. You think any journalist can call up a witness and say that and not have it be construed as witness intimidation or a threat?
I was indicted for intimidating Sergeant Yuri Buchanan because I asked him questions about his intentional choice not to follow up on a major lead in John O'Keefe's murder and then called him names. Despite having a badge and a gun, Buchanan told the grand jury he felt intimidated by the name call.
Sergeant Bukaki, are you trying to arrest me for wiretapping? Why were you talking about me during your whole interview with Lucky Loughlin? What have you done to follow up on the Ford Edge? What have you done? What have you done to follow up on that Ford Edge that Lucky Loughlin told you about? Why did you not interview? Why did you not interview Lucky Loughlin? Why did you not interview Lucky Loughlin, sir, until August 10th? Are you ashamed? I mean, is this why you went to the academy to cover for punks like Michael Proctor? You're Michael Proctor's bitch. That's all you are, son. You're Michael Proctor's little bitch. You're a fucking pig. You're a disgrace. You're a fucking disgrace. And these two guys here, they know it. They're looking at you right now like this guy's a fucking joke. I can't believe I have to wear the same uniform as this clown, as this corrupt pig. Look at you. You fucking pig.
I never physically threatened anyone or met the conditions of legal harassment. I never interfered with the trial or tried to influence anyone's testimony. I just questioned and protested people you're not allowed to question or protest.
So, man, how you doing? Give me a second. What? You got warrant. You got multiple arrest warrants.
All right, y'all. That's it for today. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. I am going to kick back, relax, and, you know, wait for Ray from Dallas to start. Don't forget, Aidan will be on Ray from Dallas tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern. And then he will be on Megan Fox's show at 8:15. So go support both of them. Like, share, and subscribe to both of them if you are not already subscribed. And go support Aidan and show him your love because he deserves it. All right. We will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Worcester in the building, Aidan on the beat, reporting live from the front line. Concrete truth for a Worcester son. Started small, hunting big dogs in a town full of badges and secrets. Paper trails tell a tale that they never wanted out. Blue walls crumbling under ink and doubt. Look at the driveway, look at the house. The captain knows exactly what we talk about.
They framed the lady, they played the jury, they spun a story full of hate and fury. But Aidan saw the cracks, Aidan kept the facts. Aidan from the 508, broken justice at the gate. If she didn't hit him, then tell us who did. The badge won't cover when the body was hid. Aidan from the 508, breaking chains and choosing fate. Not guilty for the girl on the stand, but a killer still walks across the land.
The detective and the brother went to school together, planting seeds, watching evidence rot in the Boston weather. Conflict of interest is a polite way to put it. System is broken, somebody should foot it. Why was the victim on his own peer's lawn, waiting for the sirens for the break of dawn?